Good evening.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Depends on where you are. We'll start in a little bit. We're just letting everybody drip in right now for a few minutes.
I hope you all can understand me. I have a little bit of a voice issue, but I think it should be fine.
Hi there, Dane. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Also good.
That's good. I'm in my car at the moment, so hopefully the street noises aren't too crazy.
Oh no, you sound perfectly fine.
Cool.
As long as you don't wreck your car, then it's fine.
As humanity extends its reach into the universe, we will most certainly need a multiplanetary currency, a fair currency that represents us all. That currency is Dogelon Mars. We are the Dogelon Warriors, a group of dedicated individuals who aim to assist and propel humanity into the next era. Join us on our mission to make Dogelon Mars the currency of the future, and welcome to the Dogelon space. I am co-hosting right now with Glacier, Crypto Brown, and Charlene. Thank you very much for joining. We have a special guest, Dane Gobel. We've had him before in our space. He introduced himself back then as well. But Dane, for the people that do not know you, would you like to give a short introduction?
Sure. Hey everybody. Thanks so much for having me back. I'm Dane. I'm the co-founder of Methuselah Foundation and a proud Dogelon holder. And I work on the DeepSpaceFood Challenge most of the time, aside from some of the other projects that I do for Methuselah.
Yeah, you're quite a busy man, I hear. So, can you tell us about what your relation is to the Deep Space Food Challenge?
Sure. So basically, NASA came to us in towards the end of 2019, or is it no? Sorry, towards the end of 2020, about the Deep Space Food Challenge. We had worked with them before on the Vascular Tissue Challenge, which you guys may have heard of, but it was about kind of breaking down one of the key rate limiters in organ engineering and whole organ engineering, which is microvasculature. And so we did a challenge with NASA related to that, and then they came to us a few years later about this really interesting food challenge. And so I, at the time, was actually working on bootstrapping a little VR startup that I was working on, but the opportunity was so cool, I couldn't resist. So my wife and I, who actually she works for Johnson and Johnson in her day job, managed to fill out or open up some time so that we could work on the food challenge, which is it's just incredibly cool, and we're just so happy that so many people have been able to participate in the challenge. But we'll get into that more.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just thinking about your how did NASA ask the Methuselah Foundation about this food challenge, right? So I was just thinking about, could you go a little bit deeper into the origin story of that? How that went, and how you guys went
Yeah.
about it?
Yeah, sure. So the origin story from before we were involved was the director of the ISS, Robin Gatens, and Monzi Roman, who's the head of Centennial Challenges at the time, were Essentially, they were seeing the work that was being done around space food. There were some really interesting papers that were being worked on by some NASA scientists who also work with the Institute of Food Technologists. These are incredibly smart people, mostly women actually, who were publishing some really interesting studies about nutrient degradation, in particular in space. And so seeing what was coming down the road in terms of the Artemis missions, the plan to actually go back to the lunar surface and have astronauts there on a permanent basis. I mean, cycling basis. People won't live there for probably more than a month at a time, let's say, but they'll be cycling there. Yeah, the current paradigm of shelf-stable foods just is simply not viable for that, or for a Martian mission. It's just not really going to work. I can get more into that later, but that was the problem that they realized that they needed to solve. And so NASA has Centennial Challenges, which is their one of their open innovation platforms, I guess you could say. And so they worked with different subject matter experts to pull together a structure for people to participate in trying to solve that problem. So, everybody from, people who are at universities, different institutions like that, to startups, to kind of like garage warriors, to, really almost anybody. They put together a really amazing challenge, which was designed to be as open and inclusive as possible. It was for phase one. I can get more into this later, but phase one was a design challenge, so it did not require probably a great deal of money to actually be involved in, since you didn't have to make a prototype. So that's what they started to put together, and yeah, again, it's all in anticipation of the missions that NASA is going to be doing in the near future. And of course, everybody in private space is going to run into similar problems as well. And of course, we have lots of problems back home with food security. So these are all of these things are interrelated, and if you can solve the problems for people going to the moon and going to Mars and living on the lunar surface, or eventually living on the Martian surface, those problems are much more complicated than the ones back home, quite frankly. We have far more resources than they do out there. So if you can solve the problems out there and make it economical and bring it back home, you can solve a lot of problems back here. And so the origin story, as far as how we got involved, originally they had another partner in line, a university. But that university had to drop out. They decided to drop out when they realized that they weren't going to get paid, so which makes sense. And so they came to us and said, "Please help us out with this." And we said, "Okay," because it was something that is totally on mission for what we're all about. And yeah, and so that's the short story, or the long-winded short story.
So I'm just doing a verify here, because for the last minute you broke up for me. Glastier, is that just me, or was it Dane's connection there?
No, that was just you. I could hear you fine, Dane.
Okay, that's good. I'm just verifying just in case. It sounds amazing how you got approached by NASA themselves, right? So that also means that you guys have a very good relationship with NASA.
Yeah, we've been working with them for several years now, and it looks like things are only getting more interesting. So yeah, we're very happy to have a relationship with NASA and with CASIS, the national lab at the ISS.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really awesome. So regarding, go back to the Deep Space Food Challenge, it's now in the second phase. And could you explain to us what the difference is between phase one and phase two?
Sure. So the main difference is the fact that in phase two, teams are actually required to build prototypes. So phase one was somewhat similar to a grant application, and then phase two is full-on prototype. So a lot of teams in phase one did have prototypes in progress, or already had prototypes or even production-ready models that were able to produce food. And so those teams do have a head start on some of the other teams, because it just happened to be that they were already in that part of the industry. But for phase two, yeah, all teams now are going to be building prototypes. that have to produce actual food samples that are safe, they don't kill you, and they're nutritious and have a lot of variety in terms of what they can produce. So those are the main differences, I would say, in terms of what the high-level criteria is. Most of the actual design constraints are largely the same. They're a little bit more aggressive in phase 2. Of course, as time goes on, things can get a little bit more specific, understanding what the future mission requirements will be. So there are some differences in that department. The other differences relate to probably the overall structure and the timeline of the challenge. So the first challenge, there was a really, really long open registration period. It was almost like 6 months because we really were trying to cast a really wide net. We really wanted to make sure that we captured a lot of folks. And so gratefully that did happen. We had in phase 1, we ended up with a kind of bonkers number of teams. It was like 250 or something insane. And then we ended up with almost 200 actual complete applications, which is a lot. That's way, 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 way more than usual. And so it was difficult to actually go through and even have enough judges to judge the challenge. We ended up with almost 50 judges, which is kind of unheard of for a challenge like this. So phase 2, though, is much more, now that we've actually done some down selecting, from those first phase 1 winners, which you could almost call like semi-finalists for phase 2. Now that we're in phase 2, those guys are going to do what they're going to do, and it becomes much easier to understand what the scope of the challenge will actually be, because we're going to know the teams, we're going to understand the technology that they're bringing more clearly because we already have those designs, and so it's going to be a lot easier to structure the judging process around them. Of course, the judging process is probably more, I guess you could say, rigorous or more easily definable than phase 1, because in phase 2, they are actually going to have to evaluate real prototypes with, everything being, totally, quantified. Everything's going to be measurable and much more standardized versus kind of aspirational, open-minded kind of design philosophy from the first one. So I think hopefully that answers your question. There's probably more to it, but it's basically like that. Yeah, in December, we're going to down select to I think it's basically, oh gosh, I'm probably going to get this number wrong, but I think it's 10 U.S. teams and then 5 international teams. I hope I got that right. As semifinalists for phase 2, and then we'll actually go and have judges test the actual food samples, and then we'll finally down select to up to 3 international teams and up to 5 U.S. teams. So the challenge is going to be getting much more focused towards the end of the cycle. But I also do think that there's always going to be like a lot of fantastic work that comes out of it, even if it's not a home run necessarily for what NASA is looking for. The companies and teams that come out of this process are going to have absolutely incredible products that they can go and get investment in and bring that technology to Earth, or take it to other people in the space world.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I have a question to that. The teams, are those universities, companies, and like private individuals, or how does that work?
Hey folks, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Did you by any chance hear Glacier's question?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I guess Dane is not hearing me. Maybe you can repeat it, Sergeant.
So Dane, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's very interesting because Glacier is speaking in the space, but you don't hear him, but other people hear him. So I don't know what that is, but
Yeah.
he basically asked who are the contestants in this challenge? Are those companies, private individuals, universities? Yeah, what are we talking about? What kind of people are these?
Oh, I mean, they're very serious folks, mostly. I would say that there are some people who are a little less established in the industry, maybe, but the vast majority of them are very, very, very well established folks at universities and very serious startups. So we've been very, very, very happy to see the incredible cross-disciplinary collaboration that happens both where you see that happening at universities, where just maybe people with different departments, but also different companies within the private sector in the space industry working together to solve these problems. So it's really incredibly cool to just see happening. Lots of absolutely fantastic folks, and you can see who. Well, I think we might talk about this later, but you can look at the winners of the challenge on the website, DeepSpaceFoodChallenge.org/winners, to get a little bit of a taste of the kind of folks that are involved and what they're about, the kind of work that they've been doing.
So we have multiple winners, right?
Yeah, that's right. We had 18. Let's see. So on the Canadian side, they have 10 winners for phase one. The U.S. competition had 18 winners for phase one, and on the international side, there were 10 winners for phase one.
And what were the reasons why they won? What made them better than the other ones?
Sure. So it's really their ability to both adhere to the criteria, the constraints, and the criteria of the challenge. So it's like I mentioned before, it's incredibly technical work that they're doing. It's about as hard as it gets. I mean, if you think about it, this is the food equivalent of rocket science. This is food plus astrophysics. This is super complicated stuff. And so they were judged on their ability to have very efficient inputs and outputs. So the first thing that you want is you're trying to minimize the amount of mass that you're taking up relative to the amount of food that's actually produced. So you want, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have it, but it's pretty much going to be a closed loop system where everything that is going into the machine and that's coming out of the machine is in one way or the other, as much as possible, going to be recycled back into the machine. So the ISS itself and future space missions, right, they're all going to have probably similar technology in terms of water recapture and that sort of thing. So contestants or competitors didn't have to worry about some of those technical requirements because it's kind of implicitly going to be available to them. But on the food side, yeah, it's inputs, extremely efficient inputs and outputs. It had to fill pretty much the entire. It didn't have to fill the nutritional requirements entirely for a crew of 4, but it's pretty close to that. So it's supposed to fill food gaps, but as much as possible address all of the caloric and nutritional requirements for a crew of 4 for a mission of 3 years. So that's a heck of a lot of calories. It's a long mission to Mars. It takes a long time to get there, and so yeah, it has to be extremely efficient, input and output. It has to be safe, right? It has to be free of pathogens. So you think about shelf-stable food. A lot of times it's irradiated to remove any potential pathogens because it has to last a long time. But you have a similar situation if you're growing your food in the craft. It has to be pathogen-free. It has to be acceptable. So that's a technical term. It sounds kind of like boring, but it's actually, it's a technical term, or prosaic, but it's a technical term, which means it has to be, it basically means palatable. So it means that on the hedonic scale, it has to reach a certain criteria for it to be judged by professional food technologists as something that a human being would want to eat and not get really depressed eating for a while. So it has to be acceptable from a palatability standpoint, and then the actual technology itself has to be acceptable from a user experience perspective. So astronauts are extremely busy people. They have basically no spare time. So they don't have any time to fix broken equipment. They don't have, or have very little time to fix broken equipment or perform maintenance on, equipment that's a pain to use or that's a pain to clean or, that sort of thing. So the more that the competitors were able to produce something that was extremely efficient, created a variety of different types of highly nutritious, delicious food that was good for astronaut psychology, and that the actual process of preparing the food, maintaining the equipment, just basically didn't take a lot of time, the higher that they were going to score. Also, they were judged on, this is a little bit of a wild category, but just a subjective level of innovation. Like, is this something that has been done 100 times before and is maybe just like a minor improvement, or is this something that really is, potentially a game changer? So they were judged on that, and then they were also judged on the terrestrial potential for terrestrial application. So there's, maybe some of you guys are familiar with the term food deserts, but it's basically a place on the planet Earth where even if maybe you can grow some food, it's really, really difficult for supply chains to get food to you. And so you end up with grocery stores that are packed with foods that are basically unhealthy, but are relatively cheap. So it's a great way to have maybe an abundance of food, but it's bad for you. Or places on Earth, of course, just like have food scarcity for a variety of different reasons, whether it's economic or just happens to be a place that's not easy to grow food. And so we were also very interested in technology that could be adapted for Earth in those circumstances, especially Canada in particular. They were really interested in that because they have a large First Nations population who are in that very situation, and it would help those people out quite a lot in the Canadian North. So a heck of a lot of space in Canada where there's not a lot of people, but there are some people. Those people have a hard time getting food. So I think that's most of it. There's probably other stuff I'm forgetting, but that's the big stuff. Except for like the 5 big things I'm forgetting right now, but yeah.
That sounds very, very interesting. I do have to say it goes a little bit above my head. It is, it goes very far with the recycling every little bit inside the space station or the rocket, wherever, how we're going to colonize a place in the universe. So I can imagine that some people have some questions about that later on in a section. We will have another question section, and I'm not sure if you will be there, Dane. We didn't discuss that, but I do imagine people will have some questions just about all what you just said. But
for sure,
I would like to ask you something, and it is about 6 months ago that we saw tweets coming by about an experiment of the DeepSpaceFood challenge possibly being shot into space and to be worked on in a lab on the IAS. And I would like to ask you if that is really, really true.
Oh, it's super close to that. It's actually, that was for the vascular tissue challenge. So we are, and because of the generous donations of the Dogelon community, it's actually going to be going up to the ISS. So some of the work from Wake Forest for the vascular tissue challenge is indeed going to be going up to the ISS. It's going to take, unfortunately, longer than we would have liked, just because of the way that the space works, especially space bureaucracy can get a little complicated sometimes. So it will probably take, it looks like it's going to be late 2023 or something along those lines. It's really impossible to say exactly. But it's all, everything's set up and it's going to be happening. Personally, I can't wait to actually have every single box checked so we can know exactly when it's going to happen. But it is, because of the nature of the industry, it is taking a little bit longer than we would like. But the work is very cool, though. We can't wait to see what it'll do. There's amazing stuff that you can do in microgravity, especially with organ research. So we can't wait to actually see their work validated and tested out in a microgravity environment. It's going to be amazing.
So do you think that will happen in like the next 6 months or more like a year?
Probably, yeah. It doesn't look like it'll be 6 months or perhaps even a year. It might be longer than that because of the way that the schedules are going. It's shockingly difficult to put something into space. there's a lot of people who want to go to space and put stuff up there. But I mean, we do have an awesome relationship with Cases. We're just trying to like lock down that schedule so that we can share it with everybody. But it can be rather cumbersome to actually, cross all those T's and dot those I's when there's so many parties involved.
Yeah, the vascular tissue challenge is, of course, also a very cool subject, like you just said. Maybe it would be nice to have another Dogelon space about specifically the tissue challenge. What do you say?
Oh, that would be fantastic. There's actually a lot of interesting stuff that we're doing around human tissue. So I think we actually, what was it, just last week, we did a workshop with some folks pretty high up at different institutions on developing roadmaps, competency level roadmaps for biomedical engineered patient trials. It's basically the rough equivalent is if some people call it like a patient on a chip or tissue on a chip. Basically a way of taking small pieces of organs, engineered organs, not like from somebody, but grown or 3D printed organs, and then you're able to do drug discovery with them. You're able to test drugs on small parts of totally legit human tissue so that you're able to rapidly speed up drug development and validation. For me, I mean, for us, I mean, we've been kind of working on the precursors to this project for about a decade. It takes forever to bring a drug to market, and it costs an obscene amount to bring to market. And, just there's so much waste and inefficiency, and people are literally dying along the way. It's an unbelievably, shockingly inefficient, nasty process. And so we've been trying to get more and more scientists to do that good work. And so we're working on doing some more stuff with that, which is, again, it's a follow-on to the work that we did with the Vascular Tissue Challenge. So we're basically working to lay the groundwork and the structure for what's going to be something like the sequel to that prize. But yeah, happy to come back and talk about that more.
Yeah, that really sounds amazing as well. And just to get back on the DeepSpaceFood Challenge, because I'm sure we could talk about that for another 40 minutes for sure, is how do you think that efficient food systems that produce nutritious and delicious food will change the game for future long duration missions?
Yeah, well, so they're absolutely necessary. I mentioned before, so the current paradigm of shelf stable foods is just simply not viable. I think the estimates were that and it sounds crazy, but the estimates were that for a crew of 4, they would have to produce 12 tons, if I remember correctly, 12 tons of food, which is of course extremely massive and like a real pain to put into space. So they were going to have to likely send that ahead of the astronauts, so that by the time the food is produced and then it's shipped and then the astronauts arrive, by the time they get there, the food's already like 2 years old. And because of the way things work in space, radiation makes the nutrients degrade at a faster rate. And so you end up in a situation where like you can be an astronaut and you can end up getting scurvy because of a lack of vitamin C, that sort of thing. It's like a really dangerous situation to end up in. And so it's absolutely necessary to move towards in situ food production, which basically means you're doing it right there. So instead of bringing all the food with you, like it's a giant pantry full of like energy bars or something, or like MREs, like if you're in the Army or something, it's you're growing all the food actually in the craft, or when you land, it's all actually there available for you. So you end up with as much fresh food as you can possibly get, right? So whether it's fruits and vegetables, which is easy to imagine, but it's also even using alternative protein sources like insects or processed insects to end up with protein powders, or it's 3D printed actual tissue, like actually 3D printed meat, or cell cultured meat, or even cell cultured vegetables and fruit. There was actually one team from phase 1 that did some really, really cool work with cell culture fruit. So Yeah, so I think because of the nature of the challenge, because it is so incredibly difficult and everything has to be so incredibly efficient, the techniques that we use back on Earth, which just seem kind of obvious because you have loads of sunlight and all sorts of good stuff like that, don't really work. That you can't bring a cow with you to space because it's really, really, really heavy. It's hugely inefficient. So all of that stuff has to be completely rethought, completely redone, pretty much. And so yeah, if you're able to do it up there and you're able to do it with that kind of efficiency, with that amount of scarcity, amazing technology is going to come out of it. And so absolutely necessary for space, but that technology is going to come back down to Earth and help out local communities too.
Would you be able to give us some historical perspective on how space exploration will help drive food innovation for the rest of us here on Earth?
Yeah, sure. I think you can also pull back probably a little bit more broadly and even look at just exploration in general and how important food sourcing is for the exploration process. So if you look back to the one good example, because it's not too far back, is in the middle of the 1800s, or well, early 1800s to the middle of the 1800s. A lot of things. Excuse me, or mid to late 1800s. I'm sorry. A lot of things changed when it came to food preservation. So there was a guy named Nicolas Appert who was a French confectioner right around the time that during the French Revolution. This is right before Napoleon came to power. So some people might know the phrase "an army marches on its stomach," which is attributed to Napoleon, but he didn't say it. But anyway. But that was kind of the thing at the time where they were realizing that, oh man, they've got all these people who are they're trying to fight the people in charge at the time, but they didn't have enough food. They were really worried about supply chain issues and that sort of thing. And so they created what was called the Food Preservation Prize, which Nicolas Appert eventually won because he invented or arguably invented or standardized food bottling, which was used somewhat at the time, but maybe he did the more scientific version where he would heat it to a very specific temperature, and then you would hermetically seal it. So he did that, and then through one thing or another, the British got their hands on it. I think the story goes that either they stole it or another French fellow actually surreptitiously gave it to them, or even Nicholas himself kind of accidentally lost it to them or tried to sell it and it didn't go right, and I don't know. But anyway, that's where the canning came from, tin canning, and a lot of that is what enabled the maritime exploration of the time, and that in turn is what enabled the ice trade, I guess you could say. So before then, if you lived in a cold area, you would keep ice in a, I'm trying to remember the exact name of it, but I think it was literally called an ice box. But it was basically like an ice shed. It was essentially a shed where you would keep ice all year round, so that you could keep your food cold, because there was no such thing as a refrigerator. But if you lived in an area where that was not a thing, it was very expensive and difficult for ice to get to you, or you had to use like more traditional curing sorts of things, which removed a lot of variety from your diet and required you to eat a lot more salt than maybe you should. But because of that maritime boom, it enabled a global ice trade, and so maybe a lot of people don't actually know this, but a huge amount of stuff was going on in the 1800s, literally taking ice from one place and then bringing it to someplace else, which is really, really crazy. And so because of that, and then of course what happened later with Pasteur at that time, a little bit later, you saw life expectancy go parabolic. It hockey sticked. Life expectancy went up like crazy. So did intelligence. So you could argue that there was already like a radical shift in of longevity in your average person, simply just because of food preservation, right? And so that then leads to what happened with the Apollo program and the space race. There was all sorts of different things that they came up with in order to make it possible for astronauts to be out there, and most of that was all around food preservation, making shelf-stable foods, irradiated, shelf-stable foods that could then just be heated up by water perfusion and different things like that. There was non-traditional ways of reconstituting food and that sort of thing. Everyone knows about dehydrated, space ice cream, right? Like that was stuff that they came up with. I think they came up with Tang, like different things, all sorts of cool stuff. I think infant formula was because of the program as well. So amazing stuff happened. But the interesting thing is that now, like I said before, is that paradigm of preservation as your primary means of ensuring that you have enough food is going to be breaking down. It's not going to be working quite as well for those future missions. And so you've got to go into in situ food production, and it's cool for me to see that, because that really is it's kind of a way of like, you're not kicking the can down the road anymore. You're having to actually really look at what those production problems are. And when you can do that, then you're dealing with a much more interesting problem, which is how do you then scale that highly efficient food production system across the world, so you can end up with a far more decentralized food supply. So you're not relying on trucks taking food from here to there all the time, but you're growing most of the food locally for your communities in a really, really efficient way, with just as much novelty as you might expect before. So yeah, it's amazing to see what's happening. A lot of that's because of necessity is the mother of invention, right? And exploration is just by definition, you're going into places where you're kind of not prepared for it. They're scarce, dangerous environments, and so since we're sending humans from here to there and not just robots, you got to keep the humans alive and as happy as possible, or else the mission fails.
So this program really has a major impact globally already, right, from NASA. And what I'm hearing right now with the new types of contests, the Deep Space Food Challenge, that eventually the impact on the planet will be immense as well.
Yeah.
Right, we're going into a new era, not just for space exploration, but also just globally right now.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think that, especially when you think about the different people that are involved in the challenge right now, regardless of whether or not they end up winning the challenge, because there is going to be down selects. But these people they're doing amazing work, and they're gonna take the work that they did for this challenge, and they're gonna adapt it for other things. There's definitely no shortage of amazing ideas and talent and expertise within this community. And I'm very, very confident that these guys are going to change the world, whether it's specifically within this challenge proper or whatever they do afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really amazing. And I'm just wondering, right? What could the Dogelon Mars community do to assist this process?
Well, it's I don't know. You guys are amazing. You guys are really good at memes, and you guys are just awfully nice people. If anybody knows people who are interested in participating in one way or the other, or they're interested in helping to, one of the most important things really for the competitors is financial backing. So for those who are able to support teams, either because they know somebody who's an investor or whatever it is, the more that the teams have financial backing, the easier it is for them to actually build prototypes, because it's a lot harder to build a prototype than it is to do a design challenge. So that's what was going on in phase one. But now it's much more expensive for teams to actually participate. So we haven't really had anybody drop out yet. I think there was actually just one team ended up dropping out, it looks like, just because they had personal issues or whatever. But so pretty much everybody is still on board, which is really fantastic to see. But as the thing goes along, it can become challenging. So we don't have at this moment, I believe, a direct way for financial support, but it's something that we're working on establishing. So if it's something that is of interest to the community, I would love to hear about that, so we can figure out the right way to structure it. So yeah, maybe we can talk offline or whatever it is. But so mainly that, and then especially for the international teams, because I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the federal government, of course, can't give financial awards to people who aren't citizens or permanent residents. And so the international prize is essentially, it's up to Methuselah Foundation to fund any awards that come out of it. And so that ends up being a little bit of a burden, just because we want to put most of our money into direct aging research. We do, of course, whatever we can, but it would be really, really fantastic to have some funding partners, whether it's corporate or VC, whatever it is, to help in particular the international teams along both with funding and with in-kind support. Like if you think the equivalent of like Y Combinator or something like that, like a accelerator or incubators. We'd love to be able to put those international teams in particular in touch with local partners that can help fund them and provide them, lab space and other resources, that kind of thing.
So if a Dogelon Mars community member, holder, or warrior right now is listening and has an idea or a suggestion regarding this, you can just shoot me or Dane a DM and we'll get you in touch. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it'd be great to actually collect all of that in one place, and then we can see what we can enact.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So currently, I don't have any questions right now anymore. Maybe some of the other co-hosts have a question. Glastier?
No, not really. It's highly interesting, and it's all pretty clear for now.
By the way,
Crypto
I
Brown?
can't. Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Dane. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, if anybody was talking, I can't hear them, so I don't know. Something weird's going on. Should I drop out and come back in case there's something funky happening?
Yeah, maybe it's just Glastier. I was just going to Crypto Brown. If you hear Crypto Brown in a minute, then it's just Glastier.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay.
I can hear you, Crypto Brown. Can you hear can you hear Crypto
Dane,
Brown?
can you hear me?
I don't think so.
Dang.
No, he can't hear you. So
Okay,
that's quite interesting. Probably the Twitter app.
Okay, I'll drop out and come right back.
All right, no problem. We'll wait.
Okay, 1 second.
So that's all very wildly interesting to me. That was really quick, Dane.
Works.
Welcome back, Dane.
I think you can still hear anybody but me, right?
Yeah, it looks like I can just hear you. It's really weird.
Should I just sign out and come back in?
No, I think it's just Dane. Because I can hear you guys properly, you guys hear everybody properly. I think it's just his setup for some reason. So anyway, I will just repeat the questions that they have. So Crypto Brown, go ahead. Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Charlene?
No questions at this time. Everything sounds really, really interesting and wonderful.
All right, thank you. So Dane, the co-hosts, don't have any questions right now for you. I don't know if you want to stick around for questions from the audience, but normally we would go into the different sections that we have.
Sure, I can.
Like the news.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
we have.
I can hang for like 15 minutes. I got to get back to my my little girl, but I got 15 minutes.
Okay. Well, then in that case, if you have any questions for Dane, this is the time to request for speaker. And yeah, then I'll repeat the question so he can hear you. If you have another question for him, just stick around for a little while. We still have 2 other sections to get through. So Krypton General, go ahead.
Hey, Dave. It's good to see you back again. I'm trying to run away from my kids. They're making so much noise. Yeah. So I heard you were talking talking about teams that were on the food challenge that needed some kind of financial assistance. And some sort of sponsorship. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, sounds fun over there. It sounds like my house.
I know. Yeah. So a group of us on Twitter in this community are kind of like coming together, you know, to sort of raise funds to kind of like, you know, help with charity work. And we're kind of actually thinking about having you or Methuselah Foundation as some kind of a medium where everybody can trust and say, hey, we all send Dogelon Mass contributions to this so and so wallet that Dave or Methuselah Foundation holds, and they will go ahead and donate to a charity of our choosing. So
yeah,
that's why I was asking a question. I thought I heard you say something about some teams are kind of like, you know, need financial assistance, and it's all in the collective good of the space exploration and the food challenge. So we would definitely would like to, you know, get a hold of you. I think it's Dogelon, Mr. Dogelon Mars. I don't know if he's in here, but he held spaces, I think, was it yesterday or the other day? I wasn't able to attend. So we will talk to him, and we'll get together, and as things get moving along, we will contact you, and hopefully, get to help to find out some of these people so our name gets out there some more, you know, to say that, hey, we are helping this other team or that other company or whatnot, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's really cool too, because the I would say, like, probably especially around the May time frame might be perfect for something like that, because that's when we're going to know exactly who the we're going to know like who the final teams are for phase 2. Not the semifinalists, but like there's going to be an initial kind of very, very short kind of down select in May, in which teams are going to need not a huge amount of funding, but there's going to be a fair number of international teams, probably 10 international teams, who will need roughly 20,000 each. That's like more or less, that's kind of what it's looking like. It's not 100% clear yet, because we don't know exactly what the competition is going to end up looking like. We'll know pretty soon though. So yeah, definitely please keep me in the loop. I would love to set up a structure that would work for everybody, and of course be totally transparent, and so that people can support the teams, the international teams. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Just to clarify, did you mean $20,000?
Yeah, well, so what we're trying to do is to match what NASA's doing. So they're going to give their teams 20,000 each, and so we would like to do the same thing for the international teams.
Awesome. Our team will get together and we'll start working towards a goal. We will raise the funds first, and then, like you said, during May or anywhere from now to May, we'll keep in touch with you and we'll go from there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and whatever I can do to help out, and if we're able to talk, you know, along the way, and coordinate any kind of fundraising efforts, then yeah, that would be awesome. Should make it a lot easier. Just make sure we're all like aligned in terms of you know, narrative and everything. It just makes stuff easier. Yeah, cool, man. Thank you so much.
All right, Krypton. That was the question you had, or do you have more?
Was that?
Do you have more questions?
For now, no.
All right, thank you very much. Dogelon Millionaire, go ahead.
Thank you, Dogelon Warrior. My question is for Dan Gobel. I was wondering, Do you know? Because last time I remember you were in this space, I remember you saying something about you guys are in contact with the developers of the of the Dogelon Mars team, and I was just wondering, do you think they would be down for like a Q&A, a Q&A with the community, and also, do you know if they have any? What are their plans for future? What are their plans to entice future investors to join the community? If you can shed any light on that, I think that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I honestly wish I could, man. I wish I could. I can't speak for them though, so it's going to be a total, almost entirely non-answer. But maybe other people here know something that they can pipe up. But I really hesitate to speak on their behalf. They're good people though.
All right,
They're really good people though, and very, very, very smart and well connected. I will tell you that.
All right, thank you. No problem. That's pretty much all I had to say. Thanks, Dan.
Cool. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I had a question.
Hey, what's up?
Alrighty, so Mr. Gobel, I thank you for your time, by the way. Question I have for you is, do you have any information on further projects via Dogelon Mars and its developmental team? Can we expect anything huge in the future in terms of longevity and let's see an increase in the holders? Do you see anything with future projects?
So again, like I wish I could share what their roadmap is, but they definitely have a lot of cool stuff in the works.
Is there anything else in terms of time you could give us next year? Anything you're able to, at your own disposal, give to us in terms of information?
Yeah, it's I can't really officially say anything, but the timeline is not in the far future. That's for sure.
I appreciate you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, thank you very much. I'll pass. So go ahead. I cannot pronounce your name, so go ahead.
Yeah.
So, Mr. with the Arabic name, you can go ahead if you want.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Hadi Sorhajam. I'm from Iran. I'm holder of the Dogelon. And what is your idea about Dogelon and, for example, the price of it?
Very good. Family همه
I didn't understand your question.
I'm saying, what is your idea about Dogelon?
My idea? I like.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I love Dogelon Mars. It's awesome. You guys are an incredible community, and we're just really happy to be partnering with you to try to do really, really good stuff in longevity and space research.
What? I can't understand what you say.
So I think that refers back to the mission token statement, right, Dane?
Yeah.
I could look that up.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
And mention that. While I do that, let's move on to Mr. Dogelon Mars there. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gents. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, awesome. How you doing, Mr. Dane Gobel? Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure speaking to you.
Hey, how's it going?
It's awesome. Good, thank you. So, just real quick, I'll keep it short. I've been doing my little bit of research, due diligence, and I saw on the Wikipedia, right? I was doing just, Google search, see what I scooped up. Because right now, like you said, the developers are really, really anonymous, really mysterious. So I've been trying to connect my dots in my own time. And I want you to see if you could confirm, right? So it's on the Wikipedia. In 2006, Peter Thiel donated $3.5 million to the Methuselah Foundation. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, that sounds right. I can't remember the exact figure off the top of my head, but yeah, it's definitely within that realm.
Right. So, would you say that Peter Thiel still has, keep in touch with you guys, or you guys still have a, some type of connection or talks, till this day?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I just wanted to confirm that, as well as the Pineapple Fund. They donated to you guys as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right, no worries. That's all I had. To be honest, I just, like I said, I've been doing my due diligence and doing a little bit of research here and there. I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you so much, sir, for your time, and thank you to everybody here.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
All right, so I found the mission statement, so I'm just going to read that up. So bear with me for a little while. A token whose community is consolidated and solidified by and around an ultimate mission. A mission token directs its development, messaging, and infrastructure investments toward accomplishing that ultimate mission. The mission is lofty by any standards and includes more than just creation of wealth and riches. The mission is ultimate because it aims to innovate and change humanity for the better. In the case of Dogelon Mars holders and developers, in collaboration with Methuselah Foundation, the ultimate mission elevates humanity into a species that's able to conquer extra, inter, and interplanetary problems with technology and execution of brilliant ideas by audacious individuals and entities. As such, the ultimate goal is to reduce human suffering and extend a healthy human lifespan while advancing humanity's adventure on Earth and in space with the enthusiastic support of the rapidly growing Elon community. So that answers the question for the man with the Arabic name.
Very well said.
Thank you. So we don't have any other speakers right now, so I'm just assuming that there are no other questions right now for you, Dane.
Okay.
I know you need to get your daughter, so we'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time on the space again. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for all the information, and I hope to speak to you soon about the vascular challenge.
Cool, for sure. I'd love to do it. Thank you so much for having me on, and thanks so much for listening to me yammer for the last hour or so, guys. You're awesome.
Right, thank you. So let's move on to our next section. We have a new section, by the way, guys. It's called the educational section. We're looking for a better name for it, though. But you guys probably saw already another speaker that you guys didn't recognize. His name is TSTN. It's probably short for testing or something. I don't know. He never told me. So, would you like to introduce yourself, TSTN?
Hello. Yeah, I'm TSTN, as seen on Telegram, and I'm really happy to be in the space today. Thanks a lot for having me. I've been a day one holder, and
so I'm not sure what happened. What happened there?
Excuse me, what's that?
Glass tier. Did it cut out for you, the sound? Because for me, it was all of a sudden silence.
Yes, it cut out for me as well.
Too. It cut out for me too.
Could you please repeat what you were saying, TSTN?
Hello? Hello?
TSTN, can you hear us?
I do now. It looked like my signal cut out, just really bad timing, but it's full. All the bars are going now.
Yeah, you cut out at where you said that you were a holder at day one.
Okay.
And everything went blank after.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So I've been a holder since day one, and then in July or so was when I became an admin, just from having been active in the community for a long time at that point. And today I want to talk about burns because there seem to be a lot of misconceptions going around in, well, not just our community, but all communities of crypto, and especially in meme coins. People get really excited about burns, and it's a common marketing gimmick. So I wanted to go into some of the details of how burns work and why people do them and why they don't, and why what Dogelon has been doing all along has been really good. First thing I'd like to address is what exactly happens when you have a burn. So the tokens being burned get sent to a burn wallet, and they just stay in there. So nothing else really happens other than these tokens can no longer be sold. And it's actually identical to just holding on to your tokens and never selling them. And the one other thing that happens is you'll see on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, you'll see available supply will change. And that doesn't actually have any direct impact on price or how the liquidity pool works or how the exchanges sell or anything like that. It's just a number to show like that these tokens have been burned. The main thing about that is you're really actually looking into what effect does that change in supply have in the future, because nothing's happening with price right then. So only if it actually prevents people from being able to sell at some point, like because they didn't burn the tokens, they're still in their wallet, so they might sell them someday. Only if they were going to sell is there even any impact from that burn. So it's not the like saving grace that everybody expects, because the only thing that's going to bring your price up is people buying more than selling. And that's the bottom line, whether you have burns or not. Let's talk about the most common types of token burns. And the most common one you always hear about is on the swap transactions on the decentralized exchanges, those tend to be, 3 to 5%, or sometimes even larger, like coins like SafeMoon and things do this. And the burn takes a little bit out of each buy or sell, depending on how they've implemented it. And that is nice as far as having a deflationary effect on the supply. It means the person buying the tokens didn't get the tokens, so they're not going to sell the tokens, and they had to pay an extra price to get in. But it's actually a really bad idea to do this if you want your token to succeed. And that is because what is actually more valuable to your token's price in the long term is having high liquidity and attracting whales and having many people be able to trade your token as easily as possible with the lowest amount of friction and getting the best price with no tax. And you already see that Dogelon Mars is one of the most traded coins on all of Ethereum, and perhaps someday on many of the other blockchains as well. And it's also very popular with whales. So that is a major reason to not have those transaction taxes. I just thought I'd check in. Are you guys still able to hear me? It was a little scary when we dropped out in the beginning there.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
If you don't mind. Now, I couldn't hear earlier, but now when you were saying about the burn is happening when people buy, correct?
Well, I'm not talking about what's happening with Dogelon right now. I'm talking about burns in general. Like, why do some tokens do that?
Right.
Now, it's a side topic that I could get into later, but Dogelon does have the phenomenon where the Uniswap fee, which is taken out of the purchases on Uniswap, goes into the locked liquidity. And that's not exactly a burn, but it's similar. And that is a unique thing to Dogelon because it has this huge locked liquidity pool, which means almost all of that Uniswap fee gets locked forever. But that's a very nuanced topic, so I didn't actually want to address that because I'm talking about like the just direct burns that what everybody's talking about when they say burn 99% of the time.
No, right. No, I wasn't on Dogelon Mars topic. I was talking about in general what you were speaking about.
Yeah.
And other tokens.
So yes, yeah, it does happen. If on tokens that have that tax, you're required to set a higher slippage when you do your buy on a decentralized exchange, and then the tax is used to take some of the tokens and burn them. So that's how those work.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, you're welcome. And I will continue on, and I will talk a little bit more about some of what other tokens do in a little bit. But beforehand, I wanted to mention about, well, another popular form of burning besides the burning on swaps is tokens do a big burn when they launch their token. They'll say, oh, we created this supply and then we burned this amount at launch. And like, that's totally pointless because you could have just created a lower supply. So there's really no impact at all from that. And then another somewhat common you see once in a while is a token will say the devs decided to burn some chunk of their holdings. And if you have a token where the devs are holding some really massive amount of coins and they're able to burn some of their tokens, I mean, it's good if they were going to sell them someday. Now they won't. But again, there's no like direct impact on price. So usually when they do that, it's because their token is suffering and they need something to like get people to get back into it, or you know, it's kind of a show of good faith, like, hey, save our sinking ship, we're going to burn some of our tokens, so please come back to us or stick around. But you know, that sort of thing doesn't make sense for Dogelon Mars because they don't have a bunch of dev tokens. They never had a dev allotment. Everything was purchased off of Uniswap. Next thing I wanted to mention was about the Methuselah Foundation and whether they should burn their tokens. And I think many of you have heard the answer to this one before. And of course, we are really grateful and lucky to have our partnership with them. And the people and good PR and advertising that's going to come to the token by having this partnership with them is going to raise the price far more than like taking away their inability to sell when they actually aren't going to be divesting their tokens at any rate that's going to like drag down our token. They've already promised to steward it responsibly, and I have full confidence that they will, as they're an extremely respectable organization. So it's, yeah, best, the more tokens they have, the longer they can take to divest them and the longer we can have this mutually beneficial relationship. So it's really great that they've got those tokens there. And who knows, they may not ever sell any. They may have some creative staking or something else to do with them. So next topic was, I wanted to talk about Shiba a little bit because everybody says, well, what about Shiba? Shiba did burns. And of course, we all know Shiba and Dogecoin are the like gold standard for meme coins, and they've been really successful. And so the first thing to know about Shiba is it was not burns that propelled them to their all-time high. The only burns they are doing right now is on some of their Shiboshi NFT sales, or not sales, but when they rename the NFT, they burn a few tokens. And it's just, there aren't enough of these NFTs being renamed at all right now for those burns to be anywhere near an amount that you're going to see like affecting their chart. Like, it's so negligible, their chart would be almost identical had those burns not taken place. And that also happened, you know, after their all-time high was when that began. So, you know, that has nothing to do with their success. And then the other thing that Shiba did burn-wise was some of the Vitalik tokens that he got in the beginning, unlike ours, where they all went to the Methuselah Foundation when that donation happened to from Vitalik. For Shiba, they burned a good chunk of those. Which is fine, but those weren't being circulated and they weren't on the market, so it didn't affect the price anyway. So we're essentially, with Dogelon Mars, we're in the same situation that Shiba was right now, as far as like tokenomically, we have every ability to hit an all-time high just like theirs without doing any burns. I just wanted to clear that up and let people have more confidence that we are really in a good position to be successful. And, you know, you can look at the top 10, 20, 30, whatever tokens out there and look into which ones do burns and how much do they burn. And you're not going to find like some huge correlation between burns and success. So it's largely a gimmick. It's overhyped. One other thing I forgot to mention as well is that the exchanges don't like it if you have those burn on transactions, what we were talking about earlier, when you do a swap and you pay an extra tax. Exchanges don't like that because the contract enforces it, and it means anytime they need to swap for their market makers and stuff, they have to deal with the tax and factor that into their algorithms and accounting, and it just complicates things for them. You know, they are whales basically, so they like that no tax, high liquidity sort of the situation. Okay, I'll try and sum this up. Is it good that Dogelon has not burned tokens so far? Yes, I think that's been a big part of why it's been so successful. Let's see. And do you need a token burn for a coin to be really successful? Absolutely not. And then lastly, could Dogelon burn something in the future some way and receive some benefit from it? I mean, obviously people burning their own tokens prevents them from selling, so there's that. But then the other thing is, yes, it is possible with something new coming online, like NFTs or with the staking or something. If they implement something where money's flowing in for some, like what Shiba does with the name changes on their NFTs, like if you have money flowing in and it's not going to interfere with how the swaps happen, and it's not, obviously you don't want, your holders aren't going to like volunteer to burn all their coins. So if you do something like that, then yeah, you could have some positive impact from burns, but it's absolutely not necessary. And as we see with Shiba right now, it doesn't always pay off so great anyway. But yeah, I think that's about everything I wanted to say. So if there are questions about this stuff, please go ahead.
All right. Before we go into the questions, I just want to ask you, TSTN, do you mind if we first do the news? We have been on the space for quite some time, and then we just combine all the questions together.
I'm sorry, that was pretty choppy, so I'm not sure what you said.
I said, if you do not mind, I would like to start with the news section. So we have been on the space for already quite some time, so that way we have the news section also done, and then we can combine all the questions in one big segment.
Sure. My phone is a little low, so is there a time that I can be sure to be on for questions? Or you know, we can always answer them in Telegram or elsewhere.
No, I think it will be good to have the questions right now, but if your phone is low, let's go for the next 15 minutes. Let's hear what you're saying. What's
yeah,
your
that's
time?
fine. No, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, good. Okay, so if you have questions for TSTN regarding burns, right? I do know that TSTN is going to come up a few more times in the Dogelon spaces to explain other concepts inside crypto. This is not specifically for Dogelon alone. So I'm now getting Krypton in. You were on for a few times now, asking for speaker, and then after small caps. So go ahead. Krypton?
Absolutely. So I have a couple of questions. Number one is, why is the topic of a ban so controversial? And number two is, I support a ban because I see Binance banning BNB. I see Ethereum banning it. You know, Ethereum bans about $500,000 every 24 hours. I mean, think about it. $500,000 every 24 hours. With Sheep's brand, I mean, Vitalik, we all know what happened. A lot of people have not been in this game long, so they don't know what's going on. He donated 10% to COVID in India. It dropped the price, okay? A lot of people were pissed. I included, okay? I had literally just bought at the 4 zeros and a 3, or was it the 5 zeros? I think it was the 4 zeros and a 3. And then watch the thing drop, add a 0, go all the way to 6 and going past it. People were pissed. That was people's money. So what did he do? He said, all right, let me bend the rest of the 40%. And then over time, as the people in India were still selling, because they had to sell it to take care of the people, gradually the price was stable because they're selling and people were still buying, trading and stuff. That's why it took a long while. It was like all summer. Nothing was going on. And then all of a sudden, after pressure, shit pops. It popped. So after it popped, and then all of a sudden the coin market cap issue happened where they're like, what the hell happened? Our supply changed. Our total supply changed. Exactly. Total supply. Now, after all the stuff you were talking about, no bans, yes bans, you didn't give me any theories. You didn't give me any definitions. You did not give me any tangible reason why I should listen to what you're saying, whether you're a financial advisor or who you work for, what you do for a living. I don't even know. You talk about bans are not good. But BNB, who's the number 3, Ethereum, number 2, apart from Bitcoin, bans tokens. And you're sitting here, people with 500 billion are banning their tokens to keep their prices looking good. And you're sitting here telling me bans are bad. Well, make your point. Tell me the reason why bans are bad. Don't you tell me somebody's trying to save their token. Yeah, we know there are people who are all... Look, I told you, I have a coin, okay? Anybody can make a bloody coin. All right?
Krypton. Can you just...
Wait,
Krypton.
why are we so angry? Why are we so angry? Why are we so angry? Why are we so angry?
That's what I'm trying to say. Make a point valid. And
so, Krypton, can you just go a little bit to the point?
Who owns this coin can do whatever they want with the coin. We all own it. So that's what I got to say. If you have any questions or anything to say regarding what I said, go for it. But prove me wrong. Well, tell me why BNB bans, Binance bans, and you think banning is bad. Make your point across clearly. I'm a very educated person. Don't be talking to me like you're talking to some kindergarten boy.
Krypton. I can answer this already. So BNB, Ethereum, Bitcoin has a limited supply, but it's mined. BNB has an unlimited supply. Ethereum has an unlimited supply. Dogelon Mars has a limited supply. That's why.
Well, and I look on the forum from the experts, and they explain why token bans are good. Do you know why stock market companies do stock buybacks? I told you, know who you're talking to. You just don't be just talking. Why do companies do that? They do buybacks because they want what? Explain.
I would like to address the quote of token burns are bad. I did not say that. What I said was that having a burn on transaction swaps is bad. And what BNB and Ethereum do is a different thing from what I'm talking about. And one of the main reasons I referenced that those transaction taxes on swaps is not a good thing is you can look at the most successful meme coins. The Shiba Inu does not have transaction tax on swaps, and Dogecoin does not have transaction tax on swaps. So In that sense, that's one form of burn I'm saying is bad. And as for the other forms of burn, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they often do not have the high impact that people expect them to have. And I understand what you went through the history of Shiba Inu a moment ago, and you talked about, well, here's when there was the donation, and here's when they had the burn, and here's where the price went up. And while it's true those events happened in that timeline with the Vitalik tokens, as I was saying, for Methuselah to hold their tokens and not sell is exactly the same as what Shiba did by taking those tokens and burning them, because in both cases, nothing is being sold. And when nothing is being sold, the price action on the exchanges and on the liquidity pool, decentralized exchanges, none of that actually changes. If that changes, it's because people decided to buy more than they were selling. And in the case of Shiba, there were other catalysts and market conditions that caused them to have that big surge. And in fact, the dump they had upon the Vitalik donation, the price dipping so fast, that was not actually because of the fact, like the donation itself, the tokens being sent to COVID in India, it did not like cause the price to dip because they weren't actually selling the tokens. They were just giving them to someone. It was all the people panicking who saw the donation, who sold, that caused the dip. And it was also not the burn that caused the recovery, other than the burn did make some people feel better that it's like, okay, well, he's not going to donate any more tokens. And with Dogelon Mars, we have the reassurance that all those tokens are in the hands of the Methuselah Foundation, who we trust to steward any divesting of those tokens on their own. So we already have that safety net, as far as there isn't a bunch of tokens sitting in Vitalik's hands waiting to just go somewhere and do something. So it's very similar with our position.
I get what you're saying. So I understand the part you were coming from with the taxations and stuff. It's all called deflationary tokens. Deflationary, okay? US dollar,
right.
They print all they want. But when you take tokens out of circulation, when you burn tokens gradually,
yes.
not everybody's saying we just want to up the price or shoot the price to the moon in a second. But if you do a gradual burn,
yes.
And also understand the part that you said. That's why some tokens are having it hard to get listed on some exchanges, because they have something called tokenomics. So you get a certain percentage taken out of the account, out of every purchase or sale, and it goes to holders and all that complicated stuff. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, and I'm not asking Methuselah Foundation to ban their tokens, because I already understand they said that because it was donated to them, it's illegal to burn funds that are donated to a foundation. So, you know, so in a nutshell, it's all about demand and supply, economics 101.
Yes.
So you can't say that if somebody bans the tokens, like, you know, we are expecting for this thing to go to Mars. Let's say, look, personally, I've given this thing minimum 5 years. I'm in no hurry to go anywhere. I'm living good. I got money. I don't need money for nothing. Okay? I drive a very nice car. I work a very good job. Okay? I'm very respected where I work. I'm an assistant coordinator. I have time on my hands. That's why I'm on my phone 24/7. The manager comes to my office and he sees me. Okay? So I just want to, like, for us, okay, for us to, don't just, we should all the burden to Methuselah Foundation. And I mean, listening to Dave talk today, you could tell he's tired. You know, you could tell he's tired and he's still trying to explain himself. We could come together. We could share our minds together. We could figure out ways and means and things to do to better our token. This is all for us.
Okay? Yes, I agree with this.
Hey, yeah. Can I jump in here real quick?
Go ahead, boss.
I don't typically speak. I try to stay silent, but this burn thing has been kind of a thing. To take the technical stuff out of it, it's community involvement. A burn will get people involved, like it did Shiba, and I think that's why Shiba kind of jumped, not so much because of burns or anything like that. It gets people involved, and they get excited about the token, even if the burn's not really, making everybody a bunch of money.
Right.
It's there. And it's
So
just bringing people together for one common thing, and it doesn't have to be what makes us all rich. It's just somewhere to start.
yeah, well, and I tried to add in at the end of what I was saying in my original big spiel was that, yes, in the future, especially once we have staking and NFTs, we can do something creative, like the way that Shiba does the NFT renaming, and they do a little burn. Like it, even though it's not actually causing enough deflation to really matter. I mean, maybe someday it would if their metaverse gets really big or something, but even though it's not doing so much, yeah, the term burn excites people. It is somewhat useful as a marketing gimmick. So I'm with you that we can come up with creative ways. We just can't do like the transaction, token tax on transactions and stuff. But, I'm not one of the devs or part of the dev team or part of the team at all. I'm just a holder who became an admin eventually. Yeah, I think they can do that, and I think they're a really smart team who's proven themselves well. So I'm really excited about what they're planning to tell us about soon, and maybe it will include some kind of burn for something. But I'm not going to be angry if it doesn't either, because I know it's not an essential thing to seeing a token become really high market cap.
I see Duchess hand up. She's had a hand up for a while now, so I don't know. Could we what she has to say? Maybe she has a question.
But before anything, TSTN, I agree with you what you were saying. Not every token is going to have a burn. It's not going to have a burn. I mean, I understand a lot of you guys are pretty upset about, the way things are going, but I told you guys in the beginning that it's not going to be no burning mechanism.
I honestly don't care if they don't do a burn themselves. I'm looking more to doing as a community. I mean, I have no problem raising money and using that money to burn tokens.
Yeah, just remember though, if you held those tokens and never sold them, it's going to have the same effect. Like tokenomically, it has the same impact. But as far as marketing hype, like does someone see that and decide to react and buy more? That's another issue.
Yeah. Exactly. The reason why this is so important to us is, think about it. There are investors coming into this coin. I mean, we love Methuselah Foundation. We all about what they're doing. But just look at this picture where somebody's coming to invest this thing, and then they ask somebody, "What's going on?" Oh, okay, this is a new thing. It's Dogelon. It's really good. This and this is what's going on, and everything's gonna be like that and this. And then they ask, "Okay, so why does one person has 43% of the total supply?" And they become a little shaky, but if there's also some kind of mechanism in place, like, oh look, they also got a burn too, so over time, when these people are pulling out their money, which we all know they're going to do it responsibly, there's also a burn in place that's also kind of offset stuff. We're just looking for positive outcomes for the thing. That's all. It's not like somebody wants to burn real bad, or we don't think the coin can do it good on its own without a ban,
Okay. Hold on, then we're gonna have other people come up to speak as well. But again, I wanted to say this. You have to understand too, there's other big whales are going to come in and buy. David St. Clair. I don't know if you guys know him, but he is a doctor of longevity. Now, there's a lot of doctors, or they know about Methuselah Foundation. I mean, doctors that them had their master's and doctorate degree. Like, they're not going to say Methuselah Foundation is crap. I totally believe in them, and it's not just me, but there's many doctors who are not scientists have their faith in Methuselah Foundation. So I don't believe it's a bad thing. Like what Methuselah Foundation said, they said that they will, help the community at the time. But right now, Joe Biden just did that executive order. We do not want something like what happened with SafeMoon. Again, I'm going to say it like this, and then I'm going to pass it to another speaker. But I had 8 million coins, left me with what? 4,000 coins. So, when you're saying that you touched $1 billion, you touched $2 billion, okay, when that burn process come through, you're not gonna have all those billions. And yeah, the price will go up, but then look what happened. It went back to what? It was like 36 cents, $36 for 4,000 coins. That's ridiculous. That's like what in the Reddit and Crypto Pomelo, he said this. Why would they want to burn anything that is valuable? It's too valuable to burn. Just like I wouldn't want to throw this away. But before I let this go, Duchess, I see your hand up. We're gonna let Duchess speak. After Duchess, Small Cap, and after Small Cap, we'll take it back to Glasssteer.
Hey everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just have one question. I heard the word partner mentioned twice. I heard it from Mr. Gobel and I heard it from TSTN. Now, originally we were told that Methuselah Foundation is a holder like us. What differentiates a holder and a partner? I'm a little confused. And it's not a bad thing. I just want to know, are they partners or are they holders? And that's all I want to know. Thank you.
So, Duchess, as we know, people use words not always in the correct fashion. So it's a very good question that you're giving here. What Methuselah Foundation has actually stated is that they are a steward of the token, and that is not a partnership as you would normally see it. And also the Amicus token paper, the name Amicus implies not a partnership. It implies more like an advisor role. So I would say you could see them as a big investor for sure, right? That they are real, but they approach it in a steward-like fashion and have an advising role towards the developer team or some other form, another definition for it that you want to give it. But it is not like a full-on partnership. It's more like how you could see in the stock market, angel investors or activist investors, things like that come on, not specifically to take over a board or have a partnership, but just to have a voice in the board. So that's not what happened in their case, right? Because they just got dumped the tokens, basically, right? Donated. And so yeah, that's what it is. It's not a partnership. Partnership implies that they have control. I don't think that we should see it that way.
Thank you. And then I wanted to say, all of us have a different investing style, all of us do. And no single one of us has like a claim to fame that we're the crypto king, queen, anything. So when Krypton General has a question about burn, I think it's valid. I mean, all of our questions are very, very valid, and our community needs to come together and realize that. Maybe I'm seeing a lot of ankle biting, and it's not a good look for a community as a whole. Just because you have a certain because you have a certain investing style and your certain belief, that's fantastic. But other people have theirs as well. So we need to come together on that big time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it fails. The community fails.
At the same
Hold on,
time,
you don't need to. Hold on, I'm not done. I'm not done.
I know, but you're throwing
I'm not
stuff
done,
like
sweetheart.
the
I'm not done.
community
Okay, you
is
know what?
not
Forget it.
understanding. Like you guys are talking about burns, and we wanted to clarify that burns is not going to happen.
So, Crypto Brown, I don't fully agree with that statement that you're just making.
Yeah, right? Neither do I.
If a burn is going to happen, it can happen from the developers implementing some tactic or some mechanism so that a burn happens because the community has come together and requested something like that. And yes, just like Crypto in general was saying, and somebody else that was on, I forgot his name, but he's gone now. He also said the community could come together and devise a method to implement the burn. These are things that are fully possible. The only thing that TSTN is saying, it does not necessarily have an impact on your price, right? So
yeah, it can, and it depends how you do it and in to what magnitude. But people are really like, it's not a necessary thing. That's the really important lesson, especially when you look at so many other successful tokens. And frankly, the way Dogelon has been structured thus far, not having an NFT ecosystem yet and not having staking yet, there really aren't so many good opportunities for doing a burn just yet, but there will be more opportunities in the future. So we should see what everybody comes up with.
Yeah, and if I can jump in quickly as well, like as a warrior standpoint, we always try to explain why there is no burn yet from the team, why it is at the moment not really possible to have a burn from the team, and that we are personally, most of us, if I can speak for most of us, are not really interested in a burn yet. But if the community comes up with a really good idea, I'm always all ears, and I'm pretty sure that Apister, TSTN, and a lot of the other warrior members, and we are all warrior members, if anybody comes up with a really good idea, we're all ears and open for the idea and willing to work on it, right?
Thank you for finishing that for me, so I could, I wasn't able to finish what I was going to say, so thank you guys. You guys have a good day and enjoy your space.
Yeah,
thank you for coming.
I wanted to say also about the Duchess's comments about questions and getting answers, and absolutely 100% agree. All questions are valid, and when I'm in Telegram as an admin, I always try to do my best to answer the questions. You can maybe search through my chat history and find a lot of answers in there as well. But yeah, if anybody sees a situation where questions are not being answered or are being like completely shut down and ignored, you're welcome to contact me or other admins, like just directly to say, hey, we're seeing this behavior, because I totally agree. That's one of the worst things to have in a community is people who feel like they can't get the information they need. That said, there are some questions where it's like the dev teams have not announced certain details yet. So obviously sometimes the answer will be, this is all we know at this point, but we will all do our best to answer to the best of our ability any question that comes our way.
For sure, and it also applies to me, right? So you can just hit me up on Telegram on the Sergeant Dapester when you see something bad going on, for sure. So let's move on to the next question, which is from Small Caps. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Dogelon, Warrior, Crypto Brown, Charlene, the team? Thanks for having me on. In regards to SafeMoon, that wasn't a burn. That was a reverse split. So, for example, if you have XYZ at 10 shares, we'll say you have 10 coins, 10 shares, whatever the case you want to call it, right? And they do a 10-for-1 split, okay? They take 10 of your coins and give you one back, okay? And raise the price 10 times, okay? That's a reverse split. That's what happened with SafeMoon. That's why your coins reduced. As for the burn in Uniswap, Uniswap's liquidity pool is locked. 0.3% of the fees, or of the fees on Uniswap, so 0.3% of that goes to that liquidity pool, raising the price of the liquidity pool. So if all tokens in Dogelon was to be liquidated, the price can only fall down to that liquidity pool. So essentially raising the price over time as transactions keep going in and out of that. If it was in fact a burn, it would raise the price over time if demand stayed the same. So that's why, stocks do buybacks and stuff like that. You got GE, Amazon does buybacks, whole bunch of stocks do buybacks. Does it increase the price immediately? No. Does it have a long-term effect on the price? Yes. If demand stays the same, it will increase over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Those Uniswap fees going into the locked liquidity does have a deflationary effect, and I don't call it a burn because the mechanisms are slightly different, and it's also like it's not a 1-for-1, like this much Elon is locked, because the values of it's really LP token value that's getting locked, and those are a 50-50 Elon ETH split, and it's always changing as the price goes up and down. But yes, the liquidity pool grows and grows as time goes on. For whatever given market cap, it's going to be bigger at that market cap the next week than it was at that market cap the previous week because of these extra fees from Uniswap flowing into it. As for SafeMoon, I was never a holder of SafeMoon, so I don't know the nitty-gritty details of how they were doing their burn or pulling out tokens. But the bottom line was the holder was no longer having as many tokens as they paid for. And they obviously weren't dumping those tokens. The split part that didn't go to you, they weren't being dumped. Otherwise, it wouldn't have that deflationary effect on the price. So it's very much like a burn.
Small caps, do you have anything to add?
No, that's all I have for right now. I mean, I think there's, you got to look at there's confusion between a reverse split, a burn, and, the liquidity pool, right? So I think a lot of people need to talk a little bit more about the liquidity pool and actually how it works. Because, I mean, when you take the coins out of circulation, right, it's locked in that liquidity pool. So they're out of circulation, right? So your max supply is dramatically reduced over time. So essentially, you can't buy 1 quadrillion coins. Now we only have 800 trillion coins to buy from. You get what I'm saying? So 20% can eventually get locked over time, and eventually, hell, maybe about 150 years from now, if people keep using Uniswap, they can lock them all eventually.
It's glorious, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. Now, what I think the community wants is their own mechanism to burn, kind of like how Shiba has with the NFTs. Because every time an NFT in Shiba is renamed, a Saboshi, right, is renamed, it's $100 of SHIB. No matter what price the SHIB is, it gets burned. $100 worth of SHIB is immediately burned. And then today, there was one company, right, the SHIB burner coin, the ERC20 SHIB burner coin. They burned 1 billion tokens today of Shiba. So that's 1 billion, right? I understand you can stake them, right? But that's 1 billion locked in a dead wallet, right? Meaning nobody has the seed codes to that wallet, okay? But if somebody stakes 1 billion, right, then there's always the potential for that person to dump on the community and essentially decreasing the price. But if they're locked away forever, that entices the community to burn more tokens. But yes, over time, it can have a positive effect if demand remains the same. And that's all I got. I appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Small Caps, for that addition. I do think it's important to note that the liquidity pool lock is not a burn per se, but it can be seen as a burn if you don't go into the technicalities. And how SHIB resolved it and has a little burn with the changing names. That's nice. Maybe, in the future, Dogelon will do something like that as well. I don't know. It's up to the developers. And again, also the community can come up with something, right? This is the blockchain, which means that everybody can do something. Everybody can build something, right? So I just wanted to add that to it and go to the next speaker, which is Paolo. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So I have a random question. Through the course of time, I've listened to a lot of the spaces that you guys have held. I've heard a lot of the questions that were asked. And a typical answer that I tend to hear from you guys, coming from you guys, is no, they will not do that. No, they will not do that. How do you know that? How do you guys know that they won't do something?
Well, I just said something completely different, Paolo. So that is not, I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, my question is simple.
I can answer one of those.
Throughout the course of time of hearing people talk and people raising questions or saying something, some have said, no, they will not do that. You're talking as if you know what they will do and won't do. So how do you know that? That's my question.
Well, for example, some people say we need a token tax on swaps, and they're not going to do that because the contract has been renounced, so they can't actually go in and change the contract to add that. I mean, I think that'd be a bad idea anyway, but yeah, so in casual conversation, people will just be like, yeah, they're not going to do that.
They can't change the contract. So a tax cannot be added to the Dogelon Mars contract. It will always be the same. But other types of implementations of burn can be implemented, but that is outside the actual Dogelon Mars contract.
I think also another important thing is that we have to realize that nothing will happen until X Elon comes out. The point of a governance token is for you to vote with your money.
For sure.
Yes.
The question is though, how will that be with X Elon, right? So we have to really wait on that.
I think what it is I think it's like almost like farming, where if you lock tokens, you get paid in X Elon. So that means if you're literally invested into it, this is my assumption, but if you're invested into it, the more X Elon you have, the more say you have in the community. So let's say that Methuselah does that, then they would have the most say in the community. So if they wanted to donate money to some NASA fund or whatever the case is, the community. So that's why nothing is happening until proposals are put, because we are the community. So we could, at one point, we'll be able to put proposals up, but people have to vote with their money. So if their money doesn't say yes, it doesn't happen to the system. And I think that's how it's supposed to work, because the developers are supposed to have less of a major role over time also.
And if I can add there, Paolo, I do think you have a valid point that we maybe use the incorrect wording. But
yeah, because it wasn't necessarily making reference to what you guys were just talking about. I was saying in general, because I could recall on a space that I held, and that that Crystal Brown and Charlene held, or I don't remember who it was, but I had made reference to the fact of a white paper, and the answer was they're not going to give it to you. So how do you know that?
I said we don't have one right now. You and this white paper.
No,
I said we don't have one.
I didn't reference you. I didn't
Yeah,
reference.
no one's saying they're not going to have a white paper.
You just call my name.
No,
I'm gonna have to correct you.
The correct answer, because when I listened back to my space, was from Dogelon Warriors, was you're not going to get one. Like, how do you know that?
I know no Telegram admins are saying that.
I went back and I listened to my actual space just to hear it, and that was the answer I was given. So I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, like, okay.
Who was it that said that?
Dogelon Warriors.
I said that?
Yeah. So I went back and I listened to my face, and when I actually asked the question, your answer was, they're not going to do that. So
your space. I don't think I ever been in your space.
Pardon me? I think it was on Crypto Brown or Charlene's space. Anyways, needless to say, when I heard, I kind of said to myself, like, how do you know that answer? It raised a question. Like I'm still questioning, like, how do you know that answer?
The only thing I've said is a repeat from the developers, what they have said in the Telegram channel, which is not that they won't make a white paper, that the white paper will have no impact. So if you can refer me to that actual statement, just shoot me a DM where I'm supposedly said that in those words. I would love to hear it, because I would never say you won't get a white paper.
I will. That's why I'm raising the question.
I think also just like a minor note, this is not really an answer to anything, but when you create a white paper, you probably get into the territory of making Dogelon or Dogelon a security. So that's a major thing that you want to avoid. You don't want to promise anything in particular. So that's why they're probably moving very cryptically also, because you don't want to make this a security where investors are like, you said metaverse, why didn't you make a metaverse, when the reality is half these metaverse games are trash. So it's just a gimmick to, you know what I'm saying? So when you move slowly, it has a better impact, but you also want to avoid anything crazy or lawyers on your ass.
Yeah, I've actually said on Telegram many times, maybe not so much recently, but I said, like, hey, I think it'd be great if they released a white paper next time the market is in bullish conditions. I've never said they're not going to, and I haven't heard any admins or people who in some way represent the token say that there won't be a white paper. It's really just a matter of when do the devs want to make one, and when is the right timing to release it? It's not necessarily a bad thing for obvious reasons, but That said, I'm still invested in the token without one as well, because there are a lot of good reasons to feel this token is a good investment. So I'm sorry if anyone got that interpretation from any like official answers that like absolutely there will be no white paper unless there's some official statement that I've never heard. I think it's absolutely possible someday.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deontay, do you want to add something to this conversation?
Yeah, I want to say something. I'm just waiting, just listening in. I know I'm in motion right now, so I ain't want a lot of background noise coming in. But like TSTN said, uh, you know, I don't think, in my this is my opinion. I speak on my own behalf. When we look at the white paper and stuff and getting that type of roadmap, I said it before in a few spaces before as well. Is in my own opinion, I believe a white paper isn't necessary at this moment due to the fact that we so far in the project. I feel like you don't want to make a promise on something or have an idea on something and it doesn't fall through unless you're very guaranteed that that will happen. And as I said before, it's been many projects that have white papers and they didn't hold their end on what was in the paper, and that's when you've seen the rug pull. That's when you've seen a lot of investors pulling out of the project because what was said it wasn't done. And I think the way that Methuselah, by them being a steward of the project, I don't believe that Dogelon will kind of step on their feet by putting out a white paper because they have the amicus paper, because they have a mission that they're trying to complete first. And once that mission gets further along in the process, I think at that point, when we do see the projects coming, because if we listen to Dan Gobel, I hope I said his name right, when he said that good things are to come, if you notice, he said, he didn't say in particular word for word, but if you sum it up and you kind of get an idea, it will be less than a year that we'll see major changes coming from Dogelon Mars. And whether that be a NFT, whether that be some type of voting mechanism with Exelon, similar to other communities, and I really don't like kind of comparing other communities because I know we are our own community in our own project, but I believe something like that will happen to where it would give us the ability to be able to voice our opinions and vote on what we would like from the developers and be able to expand from there. But I think and I believe, no question is a bad question. I always say it's only about how you approach the question and how you get the answer and receive it. And like TSTN said, and when he was speaking in the Telegram, he only could give out as much information that he possibly can that's put out there. So if the developers, I'm pretty sure if they DM'd him by him being a administrator at this point, and they say, hey, give this information out, I'm pretty sure he'll give out the information that he's able to provide, or what I'm saying, without having to say it directly from them. Because when you become an administrator in the Telegram, that means you're trustworthy to be able to give out information to the community, and hopefully everybody be okay with it. But that's overall, we look at Dogelon Mars and we looking at where we're standing at now. As I said before, we're in a good place. We have our anniversary coming up, and I feel like a lot of big major changes will come, especially the movement with NASA and with the Deep Food Challenge. Dave Gobel said a lot of good things, and I think that's a positive outlook going into the future. But that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Deontay. That was a great narrative next to it, what we just discussed. Thank you. So, you've had your hand up for a little while there. So go ahead if you're still around. Titan. Press the unmute button in order to speak.
Titan, please go ahead. Make sure to
Hello guys.
Hello.
I'm really sorry. My network is really bad. Yeah, but I really have a question to ask. If the community wants to do a bond, why is two people here against it? Crypto ban and then Dogelon Warrior. Why are you guys against it? If a community wants to do a bond, there's nothing bad there. If the tokens are being sent to a bond wallet where no one can access it, that also helps the token not to fall down to a certain price. Why is everyone against this bond? Other communities are burning, Ethereum is burning, BNB is burning, many other coins are burning. Are they mad doing this bond?
Well, people are entitled to their own opinions, right? So if people find that the burn makes no sense, they can have that opinion, right? That's fine. And if they think, well, we need the burn because it is a nice gimmick to have or promotional usage or whatever, also good. However, if you as a group of people, as a community want to create a burn mechanism, then that is on you. You need to create that. And if the developers want to implement something of that, it's possible, right? I don't know. Or they say no to it, then still it's on you, right? We cannot speak for the developers. We are not the developers. We're just simple holders as everybody else in here, right? So we can only share what we think. We can only share what the developers have said in the past, and we can give our perceptions on it. That's about it.
Okay. I also have a question. I guess this is a meme coin and this is a community token. A community token, its strength and the development is based on the community, the strength of the community. If we don't invest in this meme coin, if we don't attract people coming, how will this community grow? I know a lot of meme coins that are really digging their own graves, no matter the development, no matter whatever they brought out, is because they don't have a strong community and they ain't really working to what they say. And I know they're all deflationary talking, but if Dogelon Mass wants to burn, the community wants to put out a burn channel, please, can you just support that? Please. That's what I just want to say.
Is, there's a Medium article that you can look up. Look up X Elon Medium. There's an article that explains exactly what X Elon will do. It's literally a governance token to tell where money will go, what initiatives you want to invest into. So the thing is, unless you are able to gather the community, because the community is way larger than this group itself. You know what I'm saying? You have to realize that this is a global coin. And if you're even in this chat right now, you're early. It's that simple. You're early into crypto. Like adoption is extremely limited. You know what I'm saying? So when you're worrying about burns and all these things, it's because we're all impatient. We've seen our money drop. We've seen, you know what I'm saying, we're nervous, you know what I'm saying, shit like that. That shit comes. But the reality is that if you're even in here arguing, you're early. Like, it doesn't matter if you buy this or buy another coin, whatever the case is. The thing is that there's a lot more to come and you don't want to drop things too early. You want to ride the wave. So until Bitcoin does something definitive, which is probably get above 45, 46K, which is probably about to do, I don't want to give any timelines, but the reality is that until Bitcoin could prove that it's still in a bull run, people are not going to drop information. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot more that goes on to it. So it's really just being patient, maybe doing some marketing, telling your friends, doing some art, thinking about what you want to do with your stash. I mean, personally, that's what I've been doing because I've been early enough to kind of have a decent, you know what I'm saying, treasure chest. So I always consider different ways that I can spend my money and actually invest in the community. But all you have to do is really sit back and literally do nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the hardest thing in crypto, because I've been in this for a minute, is literally sitting on my hands and doing nothing.
You're right, Lon. That's the main thing that everyone in here is trying to do. A lot of early investors, they believe that, they go into a coin and just believe you'll just make millions that day or overnight. But it's just you invest, you know what you believe in, hold, and keep on doing your daily life.
Yeah, for sure. So the thing is that a burn may easily come.
Well,
For sure.
okay, guys,
Yeah.
So
that's all I have.
let
That's all I have for now. I
okay,
guess
thank
I'll
you
just
very
off
much.
my mic now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aiden. And Joel, go ahead.
Yo, if we get Elon NFTs, should we be able to buy them with Elon token or X Elon? Like if you can only use X Elon for the NFT, wouldn't it make it more valuable? And give you an incentive to stake and make it like more exclusive to the Elon holders?
Well, we have to wait until they get released before we have that answer. We don't know.
But that's not a bad idea. That's the thing. So we could always like discuss hypothetically, because that's kind of how you're proposing it. But I'll suggest writing it down, because once the governance does come in, you could always put that proposal up, and people that you don't even know will literally probably invest into it, buy into it if they like the idea. And if it gets passed, they could possibly consider it. But it's also important to not limit yourself on where crypto is right now, because people are on this and metaverse NFT hype, where you know what I'm saying, it's cool. But the reality is that you could create Dogelon NFT if you wanted to, you know, because all that people are doing really are like going on Fiverr, getting a decent artist to, you know what I'm saying, create, design some group of content, and then they're just putting it up. And if it catches on, it catches on. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So you're not limited to creating Dogelon tokens. Obviously, if it comes out from the official team, it may catch more traction. But the reality, this is a decentralized system. So as much ideas as you have, write them down, and then when the moment comes out where you could actually throw proposals up, if you do care to do it, then you could do it. And yeah, that's kind of how it will go. So it's kind of cool to have spaces like this to brainstorm also. So thanks for sharing too.
That's hello Web3 to think like that with the governance token. If you look at ENS and how ENS told everybody not to sell, and then they got mad because everybody dumped. That shit was hella crazy.
No, man, things happen all the time. That's why it's important. Brand recognition is very important. So every single person that's connected to the Dogelon token, I won't say every single person, but from Vitalik to Methuselah to who else? I don't know, to just other individuals, they kind of help to back. I think even ISS is slightly connected, or they're aware of it too. So um, these are very reputable things. So that's why it's pretty cool to kind of be behind it. And also, Dogelon is into DeFi also. So I pay a lot of attention to DeFi, and DeFi right now is in a brutal winter. There's a lot of good experimentation going on with like CVX and CRV and things like that. But we're open to doing many things. But also, when you take your time, you can see what works and what fails, you know, because Phantom tried to do something similar to CRV and CVX, and that backfired completely. So it's almost like they're doing a lot, but also it's important to kind of pay more attention to the technical side. It helps to pay attention to more of the technical side too, to token economics and things like that. Also in conjunction with the marketing side, which is the visuals, like the NFTs or things like the metaverse and things like that. So I don't know, I like the idea.
Yeah, and if it's not in this NFT release, maybe it can be done with a second drop. Do we have any other speakers? Please raise your hand. I know we have a few lined up.
Well, Deonte, just a sec. We have Danny. I would like to let him speak. He tried becoming a speaker a few times, but he dropped away. So, Danny, go ahead.
Hey, thanks everyone for the time. I wanted to just make one comment that hopefully would be helpful for everyone, and also just a question. So the comment I wanted to make was regarding hearing and speaking in absolutes, especially when it comes to crypto. That's like the number one thing you shouldn't do. So anyone listening, if you're in crypto, never listen in absolutes and never speak in absolutes, because crypto is designed to be innovative and changing. And so just because something was said one way on one day or in one period doesn't mean that things can change down the road. When it comes to this project and whether or not there's going to be a white paper, whether or not there's going to be burns, currently those may be things that maybe aren't in the pipeline or aren't being considered, but it doesn't mean that they may not come down. So having that mentality of making sure the projects you're in are going to change, that's a given. It doesn't necessarily mean that something that's said today couldn't change tomorrow. So that was just my comment on that, because I know somebody was saying, well, somebody said, they said that this was not going to happen. Well, you just have to kind of take that into the context and the time it was said. The question I had was, there was a news article about a year ago in May of 2021 where the Methuselah Foundation said that they were going to be stewards of the tokens given to them, and that they would not sell for at least a year. And if they did sell, they would do it in a way that would obviously not be detrimental to the price of the token. We're almost coming up to that year mark. Uh, I don't follow the telegrams or the Twitter spaces all that much. Has the Methuselah Foundation given any indication that they might be looking to sell some of their assets? Have they been in contact with the team? Just curious about that aspect of it. And thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
It's a very good question, Danny. I'm not sure if you follow the messages from Methuselah on Mars. We post about that in our Twitter account, and the last Methuselah on Mars message was about was an image and showed a piece of a pie that they were eating together with Dogelon on Mars, and there were coordinates on it that were going towards Olympus Mons. So that implies that there's something on the horizon, because we don't know yet what that means. It also said something about what was that quote that was on the wall? What's cooking, good looking. So for me, that implies that something is coming down the road. And they said also in that Medium article that in a year they will tell us what they are going to do. So we're not in May yet. We're close to May. So personally, I am expecting that they will say something in May. And Dane, who was also just on the space, I'm not sure if you were there as well, Danny, but he also said something in that effect, that they will release something in May. So just need to be a little bit more patient for us to get those answers.
All right. Well, thank you. I'll try to do a better job of following along on the project. And just for everyone listening, just because Methuselah Foundation, potentially could sell tokens, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're dumping. Because that's the first thing people think. Oh, they're going to sell because they want to dump or they want to get out. It could feed projects, and the visibility of those projects, getting the Dogelon Mars token brand out there, especially in a positive sense, I think is a valuable aspect of the token. So even though they may sell some of those assets to feed projects, the visibility that those projects have as far as what the mission of Methuselah is and this token could be a very positive thing, and we'll just get more visibility, more eyes on the project, more interest in the project, which will inherently, of course, increase the price. And when it comes to token burning generally, uh, buying and holding can be the equivalent of a token burn. If you have long-term investors who are in a project and don't plan on selling tokens in 6 months, a year, 5 years, that's the same as burning a certain amount of tokens. It's because the entire impact is the fact that you don't have people who are introducing volatility to the project. So just something to keep in mind from a long-term perspective, from project's perspective. Just because somebody's holding a large bag and they're going to sell, just think about where those funds are going, how that impacts the visibility of the project, the projects they're going to fund and feed into. That is just going to get more eyes on the project long term. And again, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
And also, burns happen naturally. Like if you think about Bitcoin, nobody burns Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, people pass away, hard drives are lost, things are sent to the wrong address. So you have to realize that burns happen just naturally anyway.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin is a very good case because I believe more than 75% of Bitcoins are lost. So that's a big number. Also has to be because everybody thought Bitcoin was just, a lot of people trashed their hard disks and lost their keys and things like that because they didn't think about it maybe getting to 60K at some point, right? It was just a few cents back in the day. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That was just a little humor though, but yeah, these things kind of naturally happen anyway. But the thing that I'm most interested in is just the initiatives that they consider worth it, because they stress that they literally don't need the money. Like only because they're on the cutting edge is the money really useful to bring people into the space. So literally, it's like with that war chest, they're literally bringing the leading scientist in the leading nation. You know what I'm saying? So this is not just like a small foundation. Like it might be a small few scientists because, you know what I'm saying, the technology is something that's somewhat isolated to specific labs or specific teams. But the reality is that the fact that they're just a United States company and they're also working on cutting edge technology to further humanity is like the most important people are probably paying attention to this. The people that literally shape our lives that you never think about are the people that are going to hear about this space.
Awkward silence. But I do agree, Loner. For sure, for sure. That's the thing. We're just at the beginning of it. And just like Danny was saying, if they decide they will divest a certain piece of their holding, it can actually be an enormous positive effect on the overall growth of the coin. And just to add into what Danny just said about dumping, that's just another term that is not really being used well in the crypto space. A dump normally means that a lot of tokens are being sold at once. So if the Methuselah Foundation would sell their full 43% in one go, we would consider that to be a dump. The moment that it would be like 1%, that would not be a dump. That would just be a piece of the pie, right? Just speak in the parallel. If you sell 50% of your token holdings, do you consider it a dump or do you consider it a sell? That is a very big difference in how we need
Yeah,
to approach
exactly. And I think a lot of people look at Shiba and you have to realize that it was literally a country in distress. So they literally needed the money. You know what I'm saying? Like it was for COVID. People were actively dying. You know what I'm saying? People were actively sick. People needed medical assistance. So it's like they took the money and they needed it literally right now. So it's not they didn't have the ability to be creative with it. You know what I'm saying? Because of the timing of the investment also. So that's why a lot of people look at it. But yes, once that is completely gone, if it is, you know what I'm saying, it would actually improve Dogelon. But at the same time, it's like because they're a steward, they're gonna keep eyes on it. You know what I'm saying, and they're gonna have that option. And as development comes, it's probably gonna look pretty good.
Yeah, I think the same, Loner. I think they have a very good sense of what they want to do. That also helps the community. Duchess, go ahead.
Can you hear me? You know I'm gonna ask that every time. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. So I just have a question as a whole for the community because we call ourselves a community, yeah? All of us have questions. Yes? Ape, We all have questions, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so we have questions. What we need to do, from my perspective, because I've seen a lot of people get hurt, I'm just going to say it. A question is not FUD, and we need to get that across, because there are some people, it may not be important how much they hold. And you may tell them, oh, you have questions, sell your bags and leave. That's wrong. That's no way to build a community. Do you agree or disagree?
That makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. 100%. I agree. Everybody can ask questions. It's just on how do you propose the question, right? And
Right.
how do you go about it?
Some of us
If we
are,
are being familiar with each other, you can have a question. But again, we had this discussion some time ago as well, and it's all about perception. It's
yeah,
all about perception.
it is about perception. Some of us are a little more aggressive than others. But the one thing is, when a community member asks a question and it's being said that that community member is a FUD, what happens, sadly, is those people that are being called FUDsters, they're getting DMs, and they're getting nasty DMs, and they're getting blocked, and they're getting bullied. Now, I didn't want to bring it up, but I actually have to, because I was an active member in the community. You want to know why I pulled back? I was one of the ones that got nasty DMs. I'm all for making memes and making things for the community as long as the community supports. And we have to do that. It's not going to grow if you start eating your own members. It had turned into Lord of the Flies, if you will. This isn't FUD. I'm a community member. I'm a big holder.
No, it's not fun at all.
Yeah.
But you have to realize too that this community is way larger than this group.
Right. This
Like,
community is way larger than this group. It
so
got
so
so
it's
big though. Listen to this. It got so big that a bash session was put on YouTube. So anybody in the world that Googled Dogelon, they're gonna find that YouTube video and they're gonna be like, "What in the hell? Who is it? Who are they talking about?" Is that gonna make you want to invest in something? Probably not. Probably not. So we need to put our crap aside. This is a community, and we all need to band together. Otherwise, people are going to end up eating themselves. And that's it. Questions are not FUD. It may be FUD to you. It's not FUD to the other person. FUD is like saying, "Oh, this shit's a rug." Sorry, I have a potty mouth. Everybody knows that.
so the thing is, it's not necessarily FUD. And the thing is, you expressing yourself in this space, I think is probably feels somewhat like probably therapeutic to you. But because this is the internet, just like Twitter, anything else, you're gonna run into a lot of people that are upset, that are pissed off, that are angry. So it's interesting to get that perspective.
I've been in this a long time, a lot longer than people probably know. So
yeah, it's gonna get bigger because, like, for example, Sheba has over like 1 million followers just on Twitter alone, right?
Oh, I know it's going to get bigger. So before we get bigger, we need to pull this in line and stop calling people who ask questions fudders. That's it. Period.
So
that has happened in this group often, is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So Duchess, just to add to it, right? Crypto is a space with a lot of people that are not just emotionally invested, they also spend a lot of time, their personal free time, on building the community.
Right.
I'm one of them. I spend a lot of time trying to get the word out, right?
I have been one of your biggest supporters. When people talk shit about people, I've been your supporter. I said, you know what? He works on this. This is social media. This is how it goes, right? It's how it goes.
Yeah. So just to add to it, I think you're a very valuable member of the community, and I do know that you're pushing out a lot of memes. So I'm actually expecting when we're releasing that meme contest that you're a part of it.
Me?
Right? and now to hear that you're actually, a little bit demoralized by what has been happening in the community, I'm sad to hear that. I don't like that for sure.
Haven't you noticed? I just was like, forget it. I've been talking to Optimus Prime and Optima. They're fun. The two little Tesla robots. Yeah, we have conversations all the time. I'm just like, F it. I'm not going to make memes for a community that's sitting here biting each other. It makes no sense. And I can make some really good stuff.
We all have
That I
our
don't
own
even
responsibilities, right?
I
So if
don't
you notice
even
that
need I
people,
don't need to be a part of a contest. I want to be part of a community. And that's it. Period. So
so
let's stop picking on each other. Let's stop posting YouTube videos about bashing one specific individual. Might be a good idea.
so Duchess, can I just finish my sentence? Do you
Of
mind?
course. Now I'm gonna turn off my mic.
You just interrupted me 3 times, you know. I think that's a little bit rude.
I apologize.
So what I want to say that we as a community also have a responsibility. So if you notice that a part of this community is turning sour for whatever reason, we can do 2 things. We either empower the sourness, right? We go into it and make worse, or we try to just change it around to a more positive nature, right? So we all have that power within. It doesn't mean that we are actually making that change, but the more that we're trying to bring our message with positivity, the more positivity will be in the community. And yes, I have seen it that the negativity has been growing a little bit in the community as well. I've seen that too. I don't like it either. But the more that we put light on the negativity and that part, the worse it will get. It's like an infection, right? We can either infect with positivity or we can infect with negativity, and that's a choice that we make. So Duchess, you know, I do agree with you that we really need to focus more on positivity as a whole, and we can only do that in one way, just by keep doing what we do, not by stepping away. That's my opinion. You don't want to know how much shit I am getting just from doing what I do in the Dogelon Mars community. You don't want to know what kind of things people say about me simply because, you know, I am Sergeant Apester and, you know, I'm some sort of face or whatever, which I'm not, right? And, you know, everybody is that is inside the Dogelon Warriors team does something. That's it. So that I'm here speaking with my voice doesn't make me any different than somebody else that makes an image for the Dogelon Warriors, right? We all have our skills and we all do what we like to do inside the Dogelon Warriors. That's it. But it does mean that everybody can have their own opinion. The Warriors do not have one opinion. We are all our own persons. So if that goes wrong somewhere, right, we can discuss that as a team, as a community, as a family, however you want to see it. But that's where it starts, right? Just be transparent and bring it out in the open.
Real quick question. Because we're talking about how diversity and things like that, how do we know that it's Dogelon and not Dogelon? Because I feel like obviously it's gonna be called many different things because it's a global thing. But is there like official place where it's like, okay, this is how you pronounce it? Like a
Well, personally, for me, it doesn't really matter. I know that I have an accent anyway.
The
But
very first
on the original website, you could. It was said in the fact on there, the frequently asked questions, that Dogelon was to be said as Dogelon to make an actual difference because Dogelon sounds too close to Doge. And in the community, so in the old website, it said that they will refer to, the developer said they will refer to the Doge as test Doge from now on. And that's also one of the reasons why it changed. And another reason why it was in there was because they said it would be too arrogant, too self-absorbed. I don't remember the exact word, to say it in a different manner because Dogelon would be, because they also spoke, I'm not saying it correctly, they also spoke about Dogelon City, I believe. Claster, is that right? Dogelon City was mentioned also on the old website?
I think so, yes. That Dogelon Mars would be the first city on Mars.
Yes, indeed. So then that was also the reason why they changed it to dog and then an A lawn, so Dogelon. So that's why I try to say it like that. But again, I'm not a native English speaker, so I'm just saying it wrong anyway. And personally, I don't care how somebody says it. Everybody just needs to say it how they want to say it. We're talking about the same thing anyway, so that's just how it is. Does it answer your question, Loner? Because I know I just went off a little tangent there.
Oh yeah, it did. But I seen Brew was trying to say something, so I was curious what he was trying to say.
Oh, I was just mentioning that it was the correct pronunciation was on the very first website.
If I could just jump in for a second. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
We do have some people with their hands up. I don't know. Would you mind waiting just a little second there, because Dart has been waiting for like 10 minutes already.
I've been waiting for a while, but of course I don't mind waiting. Thank you for having me. I'll sit back.
Thanks, man. So Dart, go ahead.
Hey guys, pleasure to be back with all of y'all, brothers and sisters. I just want to say I know I'm a little late to the party, but I actually, between yesterday and today, read the whole Chronicles of Dogelon by Cicero. And if there's anybody in this space that hasn't read that from beginning to end, you guys need to take a minute and get a cup of coffee or a hot chocolate and start from beginning and read it to end. And I guarantee you by the end, you'll be on the edge of your seat and you'll be a little sad that it's over. Well, it's not over, but
what's the name of it again?
It's called Cicero's Chronic of Dogelon, or Dogelon. And you can find that on the Greek god 11. Okay, go to that Twitter. And let me just tell you, and so me, if y'all don't know, my name's Darth Tesla, and that's my level of psychosis and neurosis. Like, it means Darth Vader. And if y'all know, Darth Vader was succumbed by the Emperor, and we all know Elon Musk is the Emperor and the Imperator. And I would just love to be his apprentice. And that's the level of crazy, right? So after reading the Chronicles of Dogelon, literally whoever wrote them, for one, is one of the most talented writers I've written in a long time, because they keep you captivated when you read it, right? But as you're reading it, it's insane how many of these fingers point towards actual Elon Musk. In his tweets, in his cryptic, weird tweets. And so a lot of it uses gematria, which if anybody knows how gematrix.org works, words have numeric values. So like a simple word will have a numeric value. Like A means this, B means this, and the phrases, words and phrases added up have numeric values. And so you'll find sometimes if you put different phrases together, they have, matching words or similar words. So these people, or this person, the Greek god, breaks this whole thing down in Elon's tweets from the past, ever since Dogelon came out. And everything points towards how this is the new dog. This is going to be the new dog, and it's a fork of Dogecoin. And it's like the new ship, the ship of Theseus. If all parts are replaced on the old ship, is it still the same ship? And technically it is, but this is the new ship. And we're on it.
Just to interrupt you here.
Go ahead.
Cicero has been, I believe, since week 2 holder. So I do know him well. And you're referring to a Telegram channel that he has. And he also wrote a book, like a little booklet that goes into a different story. And what he does is he
12 shards, correct?
A lot of different things and ties that together. And that's one of the things that community members do, right? So what he does is this: he ties all kinds of Elon Musk messages together. He writes stories and narratives to bring it all together. And I love it for sure. It's really great content. But I do have to say, this is all his workings, right? So if you are interested in going into a story, a booklet, I can provide the specific book he wrote like a year ago, like 6 months ago. If you're interested in that specific Telegram channel, you can also send me a DM and I will give you the direct link to it. But you can also find it just if you search on the Telegram channel. You just have to look for the Cicero Chronicles and you will find it as well. But yeah, it's very interesting. If you like things like that, go and investigate it. And
So right. So at the end of the day, it could be just pop culture. It could be me and being super biased to actually Elon Musk being like, yes, oh my God, this is the answer, right? So who knows, right? But I mean, to me, believing that now. Secondly, God moves me, like not white Christian God or anything like that, but God being the totality of all the force of all things, right? The things that just makes the magic happen, right? Somehow I was moved to this community and this coin, and like I literally was there the minute it came to crypto.com. I was on the toilet in the morning, dropping some friends off at the pool, you know how we do, and I was like, what is this Elon coin? And I'm like, of course, I saw the word Elon. So I immediately bought some, and I was able to buy quite a bit. And then all of a sudden, like minutes later, there was the limit. And I told everybody, you know, oh, there's a limit. You know, I was like, I didn't seem to have a limit off the bat. But nonetheless, I mean, to me, believing that, I'm all in on this coin. And now I don't care if people have FUD. I don't care whatever that bullshit is. I'm not a fearful person in life about anything because God moves me everywhere. So I don't care. I could lose 10 grand and be like, well, that's what he wanted, you know? So I'm free, and that's all part of being free. And so I'm still here. Like I'm still here in this community, and it's beautiful. Such a beautiful community. Everybody in this room, there's so many different like cultural diversity in this community, and that's the best part about it. We're like a big family, and we all just kind of learn to work it out, work together. So my phone's almost dead, so I'm going to read something real quick to you. A poem I wrote. I have revealed myself to all the world, the one you've been waiting for. All of darkness wrapped in light, the one to open up your door. I am key, open everlasting, shutter speed, control time passing, slipping, sliding in between, reflex, blink, and left unseen. All the germs on our fingertips are all there is when scales dismissed, and all creation express in neutral, natural elation, blossom so fruitful. Bliss has grown from soiled ash, tears from mud germinate the past, leading life in all awareness, teaching mind of love and careness. As the sphere spins on through the wheel of time, we flicker and flash like a disco ball. Every one of us, the future and past, we rise up fire and water fall. The leaf grows, then dies, falls freely, nourishing the tree to live, to consume, and experience, to grow another leaf. We are tree bent and withered, some are tall and reach the sun, many broken that have fallen, becoming food for everyone. We are clouds perfectly misshapen, floating around this atmosphere. Why to one another are we forsaken? Let's learn how to be together here. And that's the pull of the heart and the mind. Thank you. That's it.
I love it, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
And I'm all in for you guys. Just know that.
Super dope, super dope. And also appreciate how Dogelon is. I like that he's very cryptic. You know what I'm saying? Because to have that much confidence, you know what I'm saying, with people's money on the line is pretty interesting, you know? So there's a lot of clues and a lot of things coming out, but at the same time, it kind of leaves you to be able to really accumulate. You know what I'm saying? Because really, anybody in this space is really like down to really like go on the journey. You know, especially if you continue to hold after Bitcoin hit like, what was it, like I don't know, 38 or whatever it was. But the thing is, it's like I appreciate that nature, and I'm gonna look into what you were referring to. And that poem was really dope, honestly, because I took a moment to like close my eyes and just visualize the transitions, and it was pretty dope. It was pretty dope.
I fully agree with you, Loner.
Yeah,
so he's gone. I think his battery was killed. James, go ahead.
Yeah, I see him connecting down there. I really hope no one expects me to follow him with that kind of enthusiasm, because I'm going to be telling you right now, I'm going to disappoint that person. Thank you for having me here, and thank you to all those who are sharing your ideas, sharing your experiences with crypto, and especially with Dogelon Mars. I've been a long time holder of Dogelon Mars. I have dibble-dabbled in crypto for many years. And from day one picking up Dogelon, I am excited now as I was then. I'd be lying to you if I told you that I did not feel the waves of up and down or the impatience of it. And I really enjoyed sitting back and listening. And I'm glad I sat back and listened more while Darth Tesla came on, and the rest of you who have just contributed an infinite amount of wisdom to me and understanding this. So I have a couple of questions, and as I'm doing this to address the community too. I don't, with fear from not going off a track, I wanted to ask those that have been in the crypto world for a long time. This kind of question is for you. It's a two-part question. I'm piggybacking off of the mention earlier about, and I don't want to sidetrack the flow of this conversation. It's incredible to hear all of this. I am really, really excited to be here. I've thought 1,000 times of dumping my coins, but I have not. I remembered why I got into this. And I remembered that in my 40-something years that lots of communications types have come out where around the world people communicate, and there's been nothing quite like the communications of crypto, where you can communicate with someone across the world and still call them a group, still call them a community, and should I say a family? There's been nothing like it. What else is there? So this is a movement. This is going in a direction, and I hear a lot of also not just impatience but frustrations expressed, and because this is such a new source of communications I mentioned, it's around the world just as it is. There's a variety of different cultures and changes and things, and because there's not a systematic chain of command here or ranking structure, those things are going to be trying at times, and we have to realize we all have to be patient with ourselves, and being kind of sitting stagnant has led to some cracks and some things that come in. I don't really care about none of that stuff either. I'm like Darth. I don't care about any of that. I remember this story. I see how it was created. It was an idea. I'm part of groups here that are still going on. An idea is only as good as its members are going to put behind it. So for my question, you mentioned earlier about taxes on transactions within a coin, and then those taxes going to the reflections of the token holders. My question for that is that a good thing with a coin, or excuse me, a token? Is that a good thing? And secondly, is that something that can change where Dogelon Mars can adapt that, or is that already locked within Uniswap?
So the contract in this specific case is different for every crypto contract, right? So what happened when the contract was released is that 50% was put into an LP token, so a liquidity pair, and those LP tokens were burned. So because it's not, it's just locked up in there. The 0.3 fee that Uniswap demands for every swap goes directly into the LP pool, and that builds the pool up as well. So every time a swap happens, or a sale or a trade, it builds up the LP, and that causes right now at the ownership. It means that the contract can never be changed. It is what it is, and because of that, it will always remain the same.
I understand that part of it. Is our reflections and taxes on coins in general, and this is a question for all of our community. We're obviously Dogelon loyalists, but we're also, I can imagine we all vary as investors in a community and worldwide to other coins. So forgive me for changing the flow of this great coin of Dogelon, which I'm never going to sell. Is reflections, is taxes on transactions for a token where the reflections go back to the coin holders, is that a good thing for a coin? Is that a good thing for a token? Is that good?
I can answer that question based on my own opinion and what I've seen in the crypto space, right? So when there
Yes,
is
thank
a
you.
tax on a token, it can even be like 15%. What you often see is that people don't sell. That's also why having tax on it. There's tax on token. It means that it needs to minimally have up before you make a profit. So that's one. That's just you as an investor. You have to wait at least 22% before you make a profit. Secondly, also have is that exchanges don't like tax because every time they have to swap or buy tokens for their own liquidity, they have to pay that amount as well. So what you see is that a lot of those tokens don't get listed. Not on the big exchanges anyway. So my personal opinion is that a tax is not good for the growth of for a project. Now reflections, which can be a part of the tax, right? Because the tax can be built up out of several mechanisms. So a reflection in this specific case is that you as a holder gets a piece back from every swap or trade that happens. That looks nice in the beginning. For sure, right? You buy a token and then it starts building up and then it becomes more and more and more. That's the premise, right? But it is actually just a gimmick. We were nice because they don't know. So it's just, you know, general statement saying they count for everything as well. It's just such an insignificant amount that it doesn't relate to anything, right? So if I have to pay 10% tax, how long do I have to until with reflections 6 months or more? So yeah, for me that is not really a benefit. That's my personal opinion on it.
Thank you. That your opinion really matters to me. I've followed you for a little while now, and I just want to say again to everyone, please hang in there. Please be patient. This was an idea to be thankful for, to be loyal to be set behind. Most everything that became anything in life had to go through the molten flames and changed and eventually condensed down to something that's even more valuable than it is. So hang in there. Everybody hang in there. We're Dogelon warriors. Oh, and I gave Crypto Brain and Stock NATO both a bunch of grief about pronouncing it because, like Dogelon Warrior, I read the paper before on how to pronounce it, and I'd go back in their DM and tell them it's Dogelon, Dogelon Mars, and I think finally they both responded to me like, is it Dogelon or Dogelon Mars? And it's not really that much important, but it's somewhat. I guess on another hand, it is kind of important to know that we're pronouncing it. I don't think Dogelon Mars is really at all the way to pronounce that. I think it really it just kind of liquidates our whole idea. So I'm a Dogelon Warriors fan. I know a lot of people got a lot of things to say. Thank you for having me here. Again, thank you for all of your ideas and all the time and energy each of you spend and keeping this community going. I want to tell you how valuable it is to me without getting all mushy. So thank you very much, and Godspeed with all of you. Take care. I'll be listening.
Thank you very much for your kind words there. And if you have other questions, just pop on. Again, as a speaker, this is the first time I'm hearing you, but if you have other questions in the different spaces, come on or shoot me a DM. It's no problem at all.
Thank you for that. I feel very welcome for you saying that, Dogelon Warrior. Thank you so much. God bless.
Danny, you've been waiting for another 20 minutes. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes the space gets very dynamic and high in emotion. So, sometimes people really have to wait for a long time to get on. And I apologize for that, but we have to let everybody speak and finish their thoughts. Sometimes you jump in when it gets really long, but we're trying to keep it an open space. So, Danny, go ahead.
It's no problem. I totally get how these spaces are. I really just wanted to kind of go back to what Duchess was mentioning regarding not only the FUD but just the frustrations that people approach the questions that they're asking with. Sometimes the tone comes off a little meaner probably than they probably expect, or maybe they do want to speak in that way. But I think one of the things that I noticed in a lot of these spaces, and probably is happening here, is that um, I would hazard a guess that 100% of you are probably just volunteers in the space. Tweeting in the telegrams, in the spaces, and I myself haven't been following this project. I am invested, but I haven't been following it 100%. So you can consider me almost like a casual investor, right? And I think what happens is you get a lot of casual investors who come in. They see you all leading these conversations because you do have that deep knowledge set. But what they don't understand, and I think everyone here needs to be aware of this, is that because you do follow and have a lot of information at your fingertips on what the project is doing right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you all have like a direct 1-800 line to the developers. And I think where a lot of people's frustrations comes in from is they come in casually to these chats. They may ask questions and aren't getting specific direct answers, and they get frustrated. And a lot of individuals just need to understand that just because the hosts or the individuals who are tweeting a lot and shilling the coin and the project, just because they do have some level of information doesn't necessarily mean that they have like 100% or they can direct where the project is going as far as burns and different initiatives. So I just wanted to applaud all of you for taking the brunt of the criticisms and the nasty DMs. It's an unfortunate necessary evil of putting yourselves kind of up in that tier of passing the information along to individuals. It's just that on the flip side, a lot of people assume that that means that you are the devs or that you have some control over the direction of the project or implementing suggestions that they make, and then them feeling dismissed or feeling as if they're not taking those thoughts or suggestions into consideration. So I do want to thank all of you, Duchess and Dogelon Warrior, everyone that's been speaking. But also just for clarification for everyone who is listening, they're putting themselves up as volunteers. So you might want to just hold back on the arrows that you may have as far as any frustrations or anything that you feel is going to come off as negative commentary. So thank you again. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much for that addition. And it's very true, right? We're all volunteers, all holders, trying to push the message out. And, we all do it in our own way. And the Dogelon Warriors team decided to come together. And sometimes new people add into the Dogelon Warrior team, right? Because it's just an open team. It's not a closed something. So, it's very, very dynamic, very variable. So thank you very much, Danny, for that addition and coming on to the space as well. Much appreciated. And Saint, you've been waiting as well for a very long time. This is your time to speak. Go ahead.
Hello, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the division a bit. I have also seen that there have been like people that are grouping up, and like I would just say this, that yes, you can ask all questions you want, but you also got to remember that it depends like in what tone you ask the question, and if you keep asking the same questions, because some people may be new into the coin, and if they see like someone that keep asking the same answer again and again, it's not like people not allowed to ask questions. Of course, we should all ask questions, but it's just like you can steal someone's faith in the coin away because they think like, okay, why doesn't they have this and that? And that's that's just my opinion on it. And I just wanted to say also that people need to forgive each other because there is a lot of division and we are all a family in this coin. So we gotta stay strong and we gotta stay together. And we don't sell your coin. Keep trusting the process because man, I trust this process and I know it will be big. And Crypto Brown, I also wanted to ask you, brother. How do you? Because I wanna sell my Shiba for Dogelon. I just wanted to ask if it's possible to swap it. Yeah.
Was that a question for me, Saint? I couldn't really hear you that
I
clear.
just wanted to ask if it's possible to swap Shiba for Dogelon.
I believe so. I don't want to give you a wrong answer. I'll have to look into that. I didn't even look into that. I'm sorry. I wouldn't be able to answer that question right now. You get what I'm saying, Saint? I wouldn't want to give you the wrong information.
Okay, that's okay.
But if Surgeon or Glasssteer know, feel free.
Yeah.
So what I can say is that there is a Shiba swap, right? And on the Shiba swap, you have an Elon ship pair. So you can directly swap there for Elon to ship or for ship to Elon. Now on Uniswap, you can do the same, but you will pay an additional fee because you have to swap between multiple tokens. That will happen in the background. So I'm getting a little bit technical here. So it will swap first to a different token before it swaps to Elon. So that would be just a tiny extra payment. So that's one way. But if you're a holder on an exchange, you can just swap it with no problem. But again, you have to probably go in between USDT in that specific instance. If you want to do a direct swap, you need to be a wallet holder in, for example, MetaMask. Then you can do that on the Shiba swap. If you're not, and you have to start transferring your tokens and things like that from an exchange over to a wallet, and then you get all kinds of extra fees. I wouldn't recommend doing that if you just want to swap. It will be way more costly than just doing it on your exchange.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
You're quite welcome. So, normally we hold these spaces for like 2 hours. We're already hitting 3 hours almost. So, I'm just going to say that we need to keep it short now a little bit because I do know that some people here are hitting the 1 a.m. mark. So, Dart, I'm going to let you speak as the last person on the space. Deontay, I almost forgot you there. Deontay, are you still around? So if you still want to add something, this is your moment. But
Yeah, guys. Hey, thanks for having me back a little earlier. I was sitting in McDonald's parking lot. My phone literally died, so I was able to say what I said with that poem, and it died. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys very much. Now, what I want to tell you guys is this. Any of you doubting like crypto, and especially the pricing right now of Dogelon, all I got to tell you is this. It is eerily similar to a coin that I invested in the beginning of last summer. When I invested in this coin, it was 6 zeros and 6. And it hovered around between 6 zeros and a 6 and 6 zeros and an 8 for a while, right? For months. And I put around 7 or 8 grand in it. That coin is called SHIB, which you all know what it is, right? I watched it when it boomed. I watched my 7 or 8 grand go up to about $88,000 in less like 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. It was literally just watching it. Like I showed my mom and she's like, well, take your initial investment. I'm like, no. Let's just see where this goes. But the funny thing is, strange how algorithms work. I had staked it and a couple friends of mine had staked theirs. And then wouldn't you know, that's when it boomed. When it unstaked, it was around 55 grand. Now, my SHIB assets have never gone below that. If it wasn't because of SHIB, I wouldn't have any Dogelon. I've still been way up. Now, that being said, the price of Dogelon right now is literally identical to right before SHIB popped. And I'm not saying nothing, but I'm just saying. I'm still up from that whole pop last summer. So just going to lob that out there. And that's all I have to say. Once again, thank you very much. And good luck, everybody. I'm here for you. Let me know if you need me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry. So Deontay, I forgot you there, but this is your moment. If you want to add something to what has been said.
Oh no, I think everything is pretty much, man, wrapped up on you know, the communication and you know, just clearing the air about, you know, the differences in opinion and the differences you know, how everybody view their own investment within the community. So I feel like it's a positive space that came out of it. You know, regardless, and I feel that, you know, we all are part of the community, so let's work together, stay strong, and you know, just really just vibe with the motion. And you know, patience is a virtue. You know, I was always raised that way as well. Is, you know, good thing comes to those who are patient. And just a little statement about, you know, like Humpty Dumpty. You know, this one for, you know, I know Dustin do a lot of memes. So, you know, you look at Humpty Dumpty, you know, how he not got on that wall and tried to be, you know, taller above everybody, you know, nobody would have had to put him together. I don't know if that's kind of analogy to kind of use or comparison to use within Dogelon Mars, but it's just to say that, you know, if you stand strong and you believe in what you invest in or anything in life, you know, keep your conviction and keep the faith in a positive way, because don't nobody uh, you know, in this world that I wouldn't believe would want to see anything you know, perish or go beneath what they actually value it or see a potential value in. We all invest and we all do things in life to the benefit of success and you know, growth. So just really just, you know, keep the positivity, family. To all the new investors, to all the new listeners, you know, I definitely appreciate y'all being here. I know the Dogelon family. Thank you, Dogelon Warriors, Crypto Brown, Charlene, you know, Duchess, and you know, Paulo and Crypto General. I think I said that right. For just, you know, speaking your mind and you know, kind of evening out the balance within the community. So appreciate everybody, and that's about it. Everything else is pretty good.
Thank you very much for that addition. I really love that what you said.
Oh yeah, Glaster too. I'm sorry, Glaster. I didn't mean to leave you out there, brother.
All good, brother.
So Loner, you'll be the last of the speakers before I go over to the hosts. Is there something you would like to add before we close?
Yo, that's funny because I was actually thinking, do you have the DM that I sent you with the picture that Elon posted? It was the exact Twitter link that Elon posted, and on the link, if you zoom in, you see, at least to me, it appears to be Dogelon's face. You know, so I think that'll be an interesting thing to share in the space. So other people could kind of look at it and make their own determination. Because one thing I noticed is that after it pumped like 3,000%, Elon didn't even whiff at it, didn't look at it, didn't say anything about it publicly. You know, so to me, that said more. His silence said more than anything.
So I'm retweeting that tweet now, and then I'll add it in the space.
Okay, cool. Other than that, man, I mean, yeah. But other than that, I enjoyed the space for sure. And before I dabbled in it and I kind of jumped in to share what I do know. And again, like everybody's just here in the community. So the thing is, it's like, it's so many diverse paths. And I'm just here for the journey. And really, we're all risk takers because everything is new. You know what I'm saying? Everything in this space is so new that we're literally pioneers. So a lot of us will probably do better, probably losing our passwords for like 5 years, because if you can sell it for 100K, but you're probably going to end up missing out on a lot more later on just by being here in the community.
I think a lot of people forget that, right? It's just like when a new baby is born. A lot of people get very immediately very attached and start holding it all the time. You can't leave it. But by the time it's 10 years old, you're like, oh man, I need to get rid of this child just for a tiny bit. Just I need my own space a little bit. And that's also what you see with Dogelon Mars a lot. Now, maybe it's not the best example to give, but that's what you see. It's people just get very very attached, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sometimes you just need to have a step back, go do something else, so you can look with renewed eyes to the baby instead of holding it too close and crunching it down. And that's what you see with the chart. The chart goes down like, oh no, the baby is crying. Well, sometimes the baby has to cry a little in order to grow up. So, just wanted to give that example. I'm sorry if I offended anybody because it is a delicate subject, babies. But yeah. Anyway, I added the the tweet that you shared with me. And people see Dogelon Mars's face on there. I'm just gonna add into it that these are personal opinions. We cannot verify it that it is actually the Dogelon Mars. It's the same with the Cicero channel. A lot of it are theories. So let's keep that in mind. Just want to add that disclaimer onto it, Loner. So
No, absolutely. It's 100% speculation, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, I know I see it, and it's like I wasn't even intending to see it. You know what I'm saying? So, and I love that whoever shared in the community, we probably will never know, but people are literally investigating every single aspect of Elon. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all these things come up to the surface because people are doing their homework, and that's why I love this community. The fact that he's even like his name is even on it has people, you know what I'm saying, creating a whole subculture under it, which I appreciate, and I want to kind of just go for the ride. But yeah, exactly. Like, even though, to be honest, a lot of my investment did come from that one image, you know what I'm saying, outside of multiple things like understanding unit bias, understanding market psychology, game theory. Even that's why people mention Burns, because people see Burns and it's like, well, Shiba did that, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, you have to market to everybody. You can't just be like, no, never mind, no Burns. Like, just mention the word burn. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really look at how crypto trades, things trade instantly. So as soon as Elon tweets anything related to Doge, it's gonna pump before you, not because somebody's there waiting. It's because a bot is geared to buy that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this is a whole different beast. This is not something we could wait. Let me see what it's gonna look like, because that shit will pump 100% in your face, and then you'd be like, "Oh, I thought I could have waited for it." But the reality is, they could go anyway, and a lot of it is speculation. But understanding market psychology, there's multiple factors and multiple tailwinds that are going in this direction. Besides the connections that they have, they're gonna go no matter what. I say this all the time, but if Sheba pumps, Dogelon's gonna pump. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's in the perfect nussle where it's quiet, cryptic, and not really being mentioned. But I guarantee once it's on that front screen as a gainer or a mover on anything, it's gonna start gaining traction. So just be comfortable. And also, I mean, I know we don't talk about other coins, but no matter what, accumulate Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the king, and Bitcoin is the thing that is saving countries, nations, and we see it being adopted. So it's like a lot of this, you know what I'm saying? People be all in maximalists on whatever, but Bitcoin is literally saving people's lives and the number one technology that we'll probably see in our lifetimes. So that might be a speculation to some of them, but the facts are there. Countries are adopting it, of Africa, Latin America, everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And you know, people may not see the US saying anything positive super about it, but the United States is actually the largest holder of Bitcoin through seizure. But other than that, take care, you guys. Much love and peace.
thank you very much for that. I just want to add just a little bit of hope in there, because the Fiscal Tissue Challenge is going up to space, right? That is what Dane Gobel said earlier in this space. Which rocket do you think is going to go up? So which account is going to tweet about something That's what I'm expecting. This is my hopium, right? I'm thinking that at some point, a certain Twitter account is going to talk about a certain project going up into space. So, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you know.
Oh, that's for sure.
You're saying that at some point they're going to mention this coin going into space, or that's something already planned, or what?
I am saying that we saw already a tweet from the ISS mentioning Dogelon Mars together with the Methuselah Foundation in the past, when they said that the Dogelon Mars community made a donation that made it possible for the experiment of the fiscal tissue challenge to go up into space. So by the time that it goes into space, because right now what Dane Gobel said, they're preparing for it. So when it actually goes into space, I'm expecting that the ISS is going to tweet about it again, that Dogelon Mars has funded, or a piece of it, whatever, a mission into the ISS. But with which rocket will it go up? I'm expecting with SpaceX, not some Russian rocket, right? So the moment that happens,
I love that.
So guess what happens, right? I'm expecting a tweet. And now,
no, for sure, for sure. I could definitely see that. And yeah, the thing is, that's what I'm saying, is like that's the thing where like if we don't realize how strong social media is in influence investing, you know what I'm saying? And it probably, started long before, but a simple tweet could change multiple things, you know what I'm saying? Could change the direction of the whole market, and that's what I appreciate about it. So we'll see.
For sure, for sure. So thank you for being on Space again, Loner. It's good to have you. Charlene, do you have anything to add before we close the space?
No, not all. Just thanking everybody for coming on. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Charlene. Crypto Brown.
No, everything sounds great. Thank you, everybody who had participated in the space today. We greatly appreciate you, and stay humble and just stay focused. We all are in this for the same reason, generational wealth and generational health, but also to help others in need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Crypto Brown. So Glastier, we missed your section. Normally we have the news section. And, we didn't get to that now. We had many people coming up, and I really loved the energy of the space, so I didn't want to interrupt it by dropping the news section in there. So I would like to suggest that we have the news section this coming Thursday on the Organic Thursday Dogelon Space. What do you say?
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I think it was a great choice not to interrupt this whole discussion about different topics, because I think it was absolutely amazing. Some really good things have been said about the token, about the community, about personalities, about all these other kinds of things. And I think we all should keep our eyes out on the Methuselah Foundation in the coming weeks. So our anniversary is coming up. Of course, I expect Dogelon Mars having some plans as well for their 1-year anniversary. Methuselah, of course, will have a lot of plans coming up. They've already have hinted for many, many months that something is coming. And I think as well with the Methuselah Foundation, we actually have a connection into the real world as well, which we should never forget. We have a connection into actually space travel with NASA, into the science field, into the research field, into decentralized science. And I hope we can break barriers. That's about it. Thanks all for coming.
Thank you very much, Glacier. I would like to thank everybody that came to the space and just listened. Really appreciate everybody always coming to this space. It's why we do it. Also appreciate everybody coming up and speak their mind. I also really enjoy that as well, right? I do know that some people sometimes feel like they don't get the availability to do that, but I always try to keep everybody coming up. If you request speaker, I'm going to try and give you a chance to say what you want to say. Doesn't mean that I always agree with what you say, and that goes for every co-host and speaker in here. So let's keep that in mind. I really love the transparency and the honesty in this space. There have been spaces that wasn't always the case. So I want to give you a shout out there, Duchess, for coming up and saying what you said. It takes effort and bravery to come up and say that in a space where 100 people are listening. So thank you very much for that. I really, really enjoyed that you did that. And let's talk it over if you see any change in the community there. And the same for you, Paolo. If I said what I said in that specific fashion, I would like you to direct me to it, because I don't see that I would say it like that. Maybe in a moment of emotion, or maybe I missaid something there, but it's just something I wouldn't say. So I apologize for that if I did, but please do direct me to it if I exactly said it as you said it. So thank you for that as well. I'm not going to shout out every speaker, but I really appreciated everything that you guys had. So thank you all for joining. See you on Thursday. Peace out.
Toodles.